I was just happy to get away from politics for a few minutes. But goddamn Trump, goddamn it.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about whatever it is.
We'll talk about some politics, but
yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about politics, I'm sure. Let's just talk about a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
don't feel like you got to dwell on any one thing. Okay. I actually want to just talk to you as Sunny, not as like Hate5Six. Like, sure, we can talk. We can talk about Hate5Six, but I would much rather just talk to you.
I'm all about that.
Cool. So, what have you been up to today, Sunny?
Today, oh gosh, I didn't sleep in. I woke up at a normal hour. I went grocery shopping because apparently we're headed for. Oh, I guess as of today we have another lockdown. So I was like, let me go grocery shopping.
Oh yeah.
So it was.
I saw that link. Somebody sent me a link, and they were like, "Yo, did you see this about Philadelphia?" I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, so it was a shit show at the grocery store, which I expected. So I got
that's effective Friday, right?
Friday.
That's what my other friend Philly told me.
Yeah, I think Friday. So I was like, I got enough to last me like for a week or two, maybe like a couple weeks. So I didn't want to go all out. I'll save that for another trip. So I did that, and then I have another interview next Monday with Aram from Betrayed. First Step. So he has a podcast. I'm going on there next week. So today I had a kind of like not a screen interview, but his one of his assistant was just like, hey, he actually talks to people first to get a sense of like what the guest wants to talk about and what they don't want to talk about, which I think is an interesting approach. So we had a nice conversation, and he was like, hey, Aram wants to talk to you about people who shit talk you, and I'm like, let's go. I'm all about this. He was like, he doesn't want to bring it up if it's gonna be sensitive. I was like, no, people want to talk shit about me in the shadows. I'm more than welcome to talk about it, wide open. So let's fucking do it. So I think that might be maybe not the full conversation next week, but it might come up. Like, so tell us about who doesn't like you and why. So I'm gonna have an opportunity to talk about that.
I will tell you that just based on me and Gary knowing each other for years and years and years, both of us live in the zone of we don't really give a shit if you don't like us.
Yeah, and I'm that way too. I think I'm learning how to be like that. Like, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter what someone else thinks about me, because like at the end of the day, I'm still doing my thing, and nothing they can say or do is going to stop that. So like, why am I giving them any of my energy? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So
it's not worth your time. Like,
it's not worth it.
I spent a small amount of time in the last, we'll call it 2 years, like really kind of worried about the trajectory of Landmine Studios, and like worrying about whether certain people like me, didn't like me, who was going to come work at my studio, who wasn't going to come work at my studio. And one day I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I don't even care. Even for bands that have been in and have decided they don't want, it's fine. There are other bands out there that will come in, and I'm doing just fine. And in fact, this year has been probably the best year of my entire career from a standpoint of how much work I had and how fulfilling the work has been. And it's 2020. We're in the middle of a damn pandemic, and I'm having a great year.
Same. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing my thing. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's just, it really doesn't matter. And like, yeah, everyone wants to be liked, and they don't want to upset people, but someone's always going to find some reason to dislike you.
Yeah, of course.
So, like,
I feel like if they're not liking me with the way things are right now, the way people are, I'm probably doing something right.
Oh yeah,
so
that's usually the case.
Like, you know what? I almost get a little bit of satisfaction from it.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you on that.
They don't. Oh, I didn't like something you said on Facebook. Like, good. Good.
I'm glad you didn't like.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Feed me more.
So, Sunny, do you actually know Gary? Did you guys ever meet like directly?
Yeah, we met times.
A couple times.
I think actually the first time we met, Len, you introduced us at This Is Hardcore up in Secret Space in the back.
In the secret spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the cave.
in the hiding area.
That was the first time. Yep.
Yeah, that was the first time, and then we talked again for like a quick second right before because Sunny taped us at Brooklyn Bazaar.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's setting up, and then like, oh hey, Sunny, how you doing?
Yeah. So maybe those are the only 2 times.
Yeah.
So Sunny, just give me the 3-minute rundown on what it is and why people should know who you are while you're on this show.
So I run a website called Hate5Six. I've been doing it for 13 years now. I basically film hardcore bands. I archive show footage that either I film or people send to me. I upload it. I maintain a website that people can watch and access over 4,000 sets that I've filmed or archived in full and watch it from the comfort of their home. Many of them have been mixed by my good friend Len Carmichael. So I basically run that channel, and I also do a lot of I use the platform as well to film rallies, political content, and I use the platform to like amplify marginalized voices. So I do a little bit of I guess the way I describe myself is a digital archivist, and I'm archiving culture, and that culture is everything from music that I'm interested in, as well as like culture that's embedded in social movements of today.
So I know that there's like a couple offshoots, like Sage, and as well Love 5-6, even though you haven't been doing any weddings lately, but
It's been a minute.
but you know, like you've got your hands in a number of things, and it's just interesting to watch it all. I do have one question for you. Are you going to create a space specifically for all the political work? Because I haven't seen it, and maybe I'm just not paying attention, but is there somewhere to watch all the political content that you've created?
Yes and no. So that was that question came up in an interview the other day. Someone's like, "Hey, do you think Hate5Six is moving in a direction where the political stuff's going to be separate?" And the short answer is no, because I always want the platform to be disrupted with political content, because I feel like that's how because people, if they know that, okay, I can go here for political content, I can mute it, I don't have to see it, but I intentionally and deliberately inject that content in my daily programming because I know it's going to reach those audiences, because they are mostly coming to me for the entertainment and the music. So for me, I deliberately slide it in there to like as a way of like culture jamming, so that they're forced to see it and interact with it.
And reckon with it.
And some people comment, some people hate it, like whatever. But the point is, much like I'm using the platform to amplify bands and get bands in front of a larger audience, I've weaponized it in a way that I also use those same mechanisms to amplify important speech that was given at a Black Lives Matter rally, for example, and like put that out there. So the short answer is no, I will never separate it. I did have a YouTube playlist that was keeping track of some of the videos. I stopped maintaining it, but I've been meaning to actually do it. But the fastest way to find those videos is if you go on my IGTV, because most of those political videos are over a minute long. And if I want to post it in full, I just put it on my IGTV. So my IGTV is mostly those videos. But I'm gonna resurrect that YouTube playlist, because I think like it would be good to at least be able to have that if someone were to like, hey, I already follow you, but I also just want to like sit down and watch all of it, so I can just,
because that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at right now. Like I want to sit down and watch them all, but like it's a little hard to comb through. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to point out, or just, you know, I was talking to my mom earlier today, and it was actually in the 15 minutes between you confirming jumping on this episode and us actually getting on here, and I told her you were coming on, and she's still like rewatches the coverage for all the Native American stuff that you do for like the National Day of Mourning, I think it's called.
Yep.
And like I put her onto that. I think the first time you posted something about was like 2015 or 16, and I put her onto that, and she's been like wholly into it. And
that's awesome.
Like it's hard as a true part Native American family to find content for it, and you know, it's not something that she is able, just, it happens once a year, so the content only comes up once a year, but she always asks me for it. So today she was like, oh, you're talking to Sunny, is he gonna go up and do the thing if they have it? And I was like, I would assume he would go if they're having it.
So interestingly enough, I am going. So I've been going since 2011 when I first moved to Boston. So this is like my 10th year. Yeah, right. So it's the 51st annual National Day of Mourning that they're having. So I've been talking to the organizer, Matowan Monroe, and so they're obviously worried because of COVID. And so she was asking me a couple months ago, she's like, hey, can I pick your brain about live streaming? We want to do something. And I was like, hey, I already have live streaming gear. So I'm actually going up there to live stream the event for them. So I don't know how many people are going to be there. But basically all the gear that I use for live streaming out of Landmine, I'm bringing with me to Plymouth. And so it should be interesting. I bought this device that allows me to, it takes two cellular 4G LTE modems and binds them together. And this is what I was at a protest over the summer and I saw like someone from NBC News go. That's what they use. This is what I'm going to get. So I bought it, and it's basically a way for you to send a live stream, like a live video stream, out to the internet reliably, like a full 1080p live stream. So I bought that. It's pretty pricey, but I bought it, so I'm going to bring that with me. And I've been doing. So one of the things I've been doing the last couple of weeks is doing that because they want to be able to cut between live speeches that are happening, and it's literally at the top of the hill. Coles Hill in Plymouth, and if you look down at the hill, the base of the hill is where like Plymouth Rock is, and so there's no internet there at all. So I had to buy this device, and so I think they're going to bring a generator, but they basically want to be able to cut between live speeches and pre-recorded content. So that's what I've been testing this last week or so. So I think they're going to be sending me, because not all the speakers that they had planned are actually going to be able to come out because of COVID. So I think they're going to be sending some pre-recorded videos, and there's also going to be some live speakers. So I'm going to be there. I'm probably going to have one, maybe two cameras set up, and then I'm going to be there on hands, switching between the live feed and pre-recorded content when it's appropriate. So speaking of, I know we're doing a stream on Thursday. I might need to borrow an XLR cable for this if you have a really long one. So
I have a couple really long ones, and you are more than welcome to borrow them.
Awesome, yeah. Because
you can borrow anything you want from me. I'm not too worried about it. So.
Yeah, because I know they're gonna set up the stage, and I got to figure out where I can set everything up. And I think I might need a long XLR cable to run into my little Zoom here. So,
well, yeah. I'll tell you, I have probably 3 that are around 50 to 100 feet-ish, depending. Perfect. I'll just give you all the really long ones, and then you can string them together if you need to.
All right. I love that. Yeah, so let your mom know. It'll be streaming on the United American Indians of New England website, which is uaine.org.
Okay.
And then it'll also be streamed on... Because I told them, I was like, hey, I can also simultaneously stream on multiple platforms, which is what we do when we do those live streams at a Landmine. I have it streaming on Hate5Six, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So I told her, I was like, hey, we can not only live stream it, but we can broadcast it on everything. So I think we're going to do their official website, and then the official Facebook group, and then the event page for National Day of Mourning. And I might even try to stream it from my personal page, but it'll be easy to find. I'm going to make a web, a flyer to announce where it can be found. So you'll have time to remind her.
Okay. Nice. So as an activist in general, or at least an archivist who's focused on activism, I know you got your start from listening to Rage Against the Machine. What does Rage Against the Machine mean to you?
I think for me, it was being a brown kid growing up in suburban New Jersey, white suburban New Jersey.
I know all about it.
Growing up hating the fact that I was brown. I remember being in the cafeteria one day, and we were all sitting at a table, and I said out loud to the people I was sitting, I was like, if we all put our hands in the middle, I'm going to be the only one that looks different. And I don't know why I said that, but it was shit like that, and also always just being conditioned to be like, oh, I'm never going to I'm never going to date anyone because there's no one who looks like me in this town, or whatever it was. Just constantly being reminded that I was not like everyone else. And I think when I heard Rage, not just heard them, but saw them on TV, and then started listening to live recordings on VHS tapes that I would get and hearing what they had to say, it made me be proud to be brown, because there were two black and brown, unapologetically black and brown people in that band who were saying, like, this is who we are, this is our voice, and we are not afraid to, like, be like who we are. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that empowered the fuck out of me. And, like, looking back and thinking about that, that is, like, the reason I am, like, who I am today is because I saw what they were doing, and like a sponge, I was just absorbing it. And it really shaped my not just perception of the world, but perception of myself. And okay. I really think that's what it came down to. Because up until that time, like, I couldn't really think of, there were black and brown people in media, in like hip hop and whatever, but playing that kind of music that I was already into, like, my brother got me into like heavy metal and things like that. And so for a band to do that really resonated with me. And I think that's why I latched onto it, because it made me be proud of who I am and embrace, like, my identity. Because up until that point, I was ashamed of my identity. Like, my real name is Sandeep, and I've always gone by Sunny because it's easier to say, and then two, because I got teased as a kid growing up because people were just, like, making fun of my ethnic sounding name.
Right.
And I remember when I turned 18, my mom was like, hey, you're 18. Do you want to legally change your name? And I thought about it, and I was like, fuck no. Like, my name is still legally Sandeep. And I was like, I'm not going to change my identity just because I was teased as a kid. Like, that's right. Crazy. I'm not going to abandon my culture. My parents gave me that name for a reason. You know what I mean? And right. To change my name, to legally change my name to Sunny, would abandon everything that they sacrificed to come here to, like, start a family. It would betray our entire, like, family, family lineage. And I couldn't do it. And I really think that if I did not have the tool set that I learned from Rage, I probably would have been like, yeah, let's just change it. I really don't want to fuck with that identity. I really think that would have been the case. So
see, like, in my mind, you are Sandeep. Like, I call you Sunny, but it's more of a term of affection than anything else for me. Like, that's how I met you. But I think
is it really?
Like, yeah.
Oh,
like,
wait, I'm like, you met me as Sunny though.
I met you as Sunny, but when I learned that your name was what your actual name was, which I kind of assumed it was going to be one of two or three names anyway. Because like not the translation, but like the transmutation is most people that are Indian of some sort, they Sunny.
It's
have
usually one of
a couple names. But like, if somebody pressed me and was like, "What's your name?" I know what your name is, but I call you Sunny because A, that's what you've chosen to have everybody call you. But I also, like, really like you, and like that's, you know, it's just easy. It rolls off the tongue real easy.
Yeah.
But if you came to me and it was like, yo, bro, can you call me my regular name? I'd be like, yeah, got you, bro. No problem. And I would never fuck it up.
I don't know many people who actually, like, think of me as Sandeep, so that's interesting to hear.
Well, I put a lot of things in my mind. I put a lot on the usage of words, because words have meaning, and if you don't understand A, where they come from, or B, where they get you to, it'll get you all fucked up. Yep. So, like, yes, my name is Leonard. I go by Len. At one point in my life, I went by Lenny, but I chose at some point to not feel like the kid that everybody was calling Lenny. But nobody's going to just walk up and call you son. Sunny makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, it's about the personal growth. And, you know, like, at 14, I decided I don't want to be called Lenny anymore. Call me Len, because I'm a grown-ass man now. that was kind of how I thought about it. So then I also think about it, and some people will call me Leonard, especially people in my family, or if they're really trying to get like my attention, and I absolutely respond to the name.
Yeah.
But most people don't know me as it, so they don't use it. But I would be perfectly fine if somebody called me that name.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think names are important too, because not to get deep into what I do as far as work, but I deal with the public and deal with people's names all the time, and it's important. There's an importance with names. You don't want to just assume stuff and say stuff. Like, I'm always very careful about it because it's a sign of respect also. You know what I mean? And but I could see that also because for some people it's like a nickname. Like, people just call me Muttley. Like, I don't even think about it. More people know me as Muttley than anything else. A lot of people don't know my real last name or think that's my real last name. But everybody's different with it, but it's, like I said, you treat it with respect because it's an important a piece of somebody's identity.
It really is.
Yeah.
So in my phone, Sunny, your name is like, it's your whole actual real name.
Oh, shit. I never knew that.
And Gary's full name is in my phone. Like, it's not Gary Muttley. It's Gary's real last name. Because names are important to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your family history.
Yeah, it really is.
It's the real deal. Like, I call Muttley because that's just, what you call him. But if somebody was like, yo, what's Gary's real name, I could rattle it right off because I know what it is.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people think that Muttley is my real last name.
I thought it was.
No, it's a character, the cartoon character, Muttley.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I've had that, but that's also because I've had that nickname for, at this point, I've had that nickname for like 30 years at this point.
Oh, shit.
I've had that nickname since...
for as long as Sunny's been born.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get into the old guy conversation.
Here we go. It's happening.
Oh, boy.
That was the next place I wanted to go. When was the first time that you actually saw Rage? Like, went to see them live? Not on videos, not
the Coachella reunion.
So it was 06 or 05?
07.
07? Okay.
07.
Oh, wow. Now I really feel old.
Yeah, because I was going to see them when they were going to do the Beastie Boys tour. What was that? The Rhyme and Reason tour in 2000, in 99 or 2000 they were going to do it. And then was it MCA who broke his leg and they had to cancel the tour?
That sounds about right.
And then Zach quit Rage in October of 2000. And so I didn't get to see it.
Wow.
So I waited 7 years. I had a pact with my brother. I remember running home crying October 18th, I think, is when he left, 2000. I ran home crying, and I was like, I went to our brothers, like, if they ever reunite, we are dropping whatever. You and I are going. And he was like, okay. And then fast forward to Coachella. I was like, it's fucking Coachella, which sucks, but like, we're going, right? He's like, yeah, we're going. So we saw them there, and then we saw them again that summer at Rock the Bells.
Randall's Island.
Randall's, yeah, twice.
So I skipped both the Randall Island shows.
Weren't there three? I think there were three.
Maybe there was, but I skipped them all.
Shit.
The last time that I saw them was in Philly with Gangstar.
Oh wow! Shit.
That's a show.
That was at the Spectrum before they tore the Spectrum down.
No kidding.
The first time I saw them was one of the Electric Factory shows in, I don't know, 97?
They did August 12th and 13th in 96.
Okay, so then it was 96. And then I saw them on the Battle of Los Angeles tour at American Airlines Arena. And I actually got stopped by a news station and interviewed. And I basically just hit him with "fuck the police."
Yeah.
So I've been on this same trip for like 20 years now or more, and I found out about Rage Against the Machine in '92. I was a junior in high school, and the first record came out, and I was fucking blown away. So I can only imagine, you in the late '90s, listening through your brother, having your mind absolutely blown.
Yeah, they were huge at that point.
My brother got the self-titled right when it came out, but I was little. I was 6, so yeah. I saw that cover, The Burning Monk, and I was like scared to even look at it. So I never even listened to it. I may have heard it in passing, but I never really did anything with it because, again, I was like fucking 6. So it wasn't until Empire came out, Evil Empire, in '96, when my neighbor Brian got it, and I was listening to that on loop. And then I think I put the pieces together. Oh, that's the same band that my brother has the tape of. But I would listen to the Evil Empire CD that my neighbor had, like, on loop for days. I don't think I gave it back for like the longest time.
So which is your favorite record of them all?
See, it fluctuates. It really changes depending on my mood. Like, the last couple of years, I've been on a huge Empire kick. I just think it's lyrically very dark, and it's much more. I think that there's a deeper theme going on in Evil Empire. Like, there's a very generic overall sentiment in the self-title of just about, like, fuck authority. We are, like, there's a problem with schools and media and all this other stuff. Whereas Evil Empire, I think of Evil Empire as almost like a concept record, because if you really dig into it, a lot of those songs, like '95, they played, I think, less than 5 shows altogether. They basically toured nonstop, like '92 all the way up till '95, and then Zach went MIA. And the reason he went MIA is because he opened up this. He was living in a loft space in Highland Park, and he basically converted the loft space with a couple other people to be a resource center for all, like, any for like Chicanos in like LA, and they basically formed this like cultural center where artists and activists could come and like learn and talk about political things going on. And so he, from what I've heard from people who know him and just like reading like interviews and stuff, I think he spent most of '95 just like focused on building that center. And he was actually taking students to Chiapas in Mexico to visit and like stay with the Zapatista Liberation Army down there. Because in '94 is when the Zapatistas like declared war on the Mexican government, because basically the Mexican government was allowing multinational corporations to come in and take land away from indigenous farmers in Mexico, land that was guaranteed to them by the Mexican Constitution. And so they were taking that land and selling it off to like Coca-Cola or whatever. And so these indigenous farmers were like, fuck that. And they took up arms. And then January 1st, '94, they stormed the Capitol and basically were like, we're easy land. Here are our demands. We demand to be like an autonomous like region in southeast Mexico. And so basically Zach was fascinated by that because he comes from like that's his background, basically, like his ancestry is Mexican. Mm-hmm. So he really became obsessed with what the Zapatistas were all about. So '95, Rage played like 3 shows, maybe 5 shows, and there's audio recordings, I think, with 3 of them. Okay. And so the rumor is like Epic Records or Sony executives were like, they flew him in, or they flew out to wherever he was. They're like, we need you to finish this second record. now. But he was literally busy taking like kids, high school, college kids, down to Mexico to like live with EZLN and like learn from them, which is crazy. It's crazy that he was doing that. But he was like, no, I'm good. I'm really just focused on this right now. And they were like, what can we do? And the story, and I don't know if it's true, but I kind of think it is, that he was like, I'll finish this record if you donate some 5-figure amount to EZLN. So there's a rumor that he actually did that. And I don't know. So anyway.
I heard that somewhere also.
Yeah, use the machine against the machine.
Exactly. So anyway, if you really dig into like Evil Empire, not every song, but a lot of those songs are about what was going on in Mexico. Not just what was going on in Mexico, but lyrically he's trying to build a bridge between what was happening there with what is happening in South Central Los Angeles, for example. And I think what Rage did, like, obviously they were a bridge for me for like finding my identity, but they were also like, throughout their career, they were building bridges of solidarity. I mean, you see it in their lyrics, like freedom in the first record, freedom will be fundamental, like in Johannesburg to South Central. Like
right.
And if you really dig into these lyrics across all the records, but especially in Evil Empire, it's always about showing that this marginalized group that's being oppressed in this part of the world, like that struggle that they have is so similar to this other struggle that's going on here that it's important to understand that and build solidarity. Because once you build solidarity, that's how you like dismantle this entire fucking bullshit system. So I really think that Evil Empire is when they came into their own, like Zach came into his own, like as a lyricist and as someone who's trying to use poetry to build bridges and to really convey a specific message. So Evil Empire's been at the top of my list. Battle has some really amazing songs. Battle was the first Rage record that I bought with my own money at like however I was like 13 at the time. So that will always hold a special place in my heart. But it depends. I mean, I really think like in terms of which record has like my favorite songs, I think Evil Empire has a higher density of my favorite tracks.
So
I could see what you're saying, because to me the difference just as a band, like the maturity, not that the first record was immature at all, but you can see the difference from the self-titled to Empire. Like there's a huge difference.
For me, the difference between the two is that on the self-titled record, the lyrics are a little repetitive. The music is very well fleshed out, but lyrically, he had, as you said, small concepts, and he hadn't figured out how to write more about it and stay on task. But by the time they got to Evil Empire, everything was firing on the right cylinders. He had the right life experience to be able to tie it together. For me, Evil Empire is by far my favorite of all the records. I might typically put on self-titled just because I feel like it's a little dirtier sounding. While I understand that Evil Empire was done kind of guerrilla style and they did it their own way, they sent it off to be mixed, and it's a lot more polished than self-titled actually ended up being. But here's a story. In 97, me and Andy went and flew to LA, and then we drove up the coast. But while we were in LA, we spent a day in LA first. And the first thing we did was drive down to Rodeo.
Hell yeah.
Turn the track up. Track up. Because, I was a big proponent of the band at the time, and he likes the band, but it's not his focus. But he liked that record specifically. Yeah. And Andy is a guy who's been on our show a couple times. We talk politics with him. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him literally since I was 3 years old. Yeah. So, long time. But, what you have to imagine is that in 92, going into 93, I'm already driving. So I'm driving around listening to self-titled. It's usually the first thing I'm going to go pick up. But I will 100% agree with you that I think Evil Empire is where all the cylinders were perfectly firing for them to put out a perfect record.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of sloganeering on the first record, and sometimes I'm in the mood for that. Sometimes I just want to listen to Bullet in the Head and like just hear that same like verse over and over again. And part of it is maybe because he was still learning how to write those songs, but part of it, and maybe it's like hindsight's 2020, but like if you go to a political rally, they're chanting slogans over and over again. So there's something when you have these slogans, especially on that first record, it creates like an earworm. And I think that maybe he was trying to go for that too. Like maybe subconsciously he was trying to go for that, but I think that is the strength. Like there is a strength to that of having just like a repetitive thing that's drilled into your head because you think like you know what those songs are about based off of what that repetitive line is. So,
and I think that's probably what was influencing him at that point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
I look at, I got into them from the beginning because, back in the ancient days before the internet, when that first record came out, I heard the buzz about it and I grabbed it. And me and my friends were listening to it nonstop. The first time I saw them was actually the Lollapalooza tour in '93.
Oh shit! In Philly?
No,
Okay.
Waterloo Village in Jersey.
Waterloo. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I've talked about it before because actually I went to that show with Martin from Billy Club.
Okay.
Because we were friends way back then, and they were the first band to play. And the entire place was just a giant cloud of dirt because it was all in a big open dirt field. And everybody, all these hardcore kids were all about Rage Against the Machine.
That's awesome.
And we're all kicking it up like crazy. And it was just crazy to see because, like I said, we were in on the first record, but you could see that already more and more people were starting to get on the train. And then I saw them a bunch of times after that at Roseland on each of the tours later on.
Oh, yeah.
And, and you could see the difference in the band as far as the content, but also the people that were going to see them.
Mm-hmm.
You could see more people that, there were a lot of hardcore kids that would go to see them because that was what first got me into them because somebody was like, oh, the dude from Inside Out, has this new band now and it's different and he's rapping and everybody's like, what? What are you talking about? And you can't, there was no YouTube back then to go listen to it, so you had to go buy the record.
Yeah.
So I remember buying that first self-titled CD and listening to it and just being blown away. Because that's another thing, like, I always look at things, since I've always been a music person, like you look at music history, like, yeah, Empire is the better record, but that first record was so different from anything at that time that it just blew people's minds.
Yeah, and I think there is value to that you can't just like discount. So I think
especially live, like watching them live was wow.
Yeah,
because it was just such a power to them that a lot of bands didn't have, especially at that time. And you're just you're watching them open for somebody, and your wig is blown back. You're like, just whoa, what is this?
Interestingly enough, I think that '93 Waterloo set, I think the audio finally surfaced because there was some guy on eBay selling a '93 Waterloo tape for like $500, and everyone that I know who's like a big Rage trader were like, we're not spending this kind of money on a fucking tape that we don't even know the quality of. But I think someone finally got it, and I think it might already be up.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think the audio might be up somewhere.
I went.
And by the way, just a side hardcore note: working as one of the security guys at that show, Rabies from Warzone.
Oh,
he used to do concert services, so I'd see him at like the Roseland shows and stuff like that. They actually hired them for that. So like we're in the crowd like up near the front, and like Rabies would see us and we already knew him, and he's like spraying us with water with the hose because it was like 90 degrees and just beating sun all day.
Oh my god, that's funny as hell.
I had such a sunburn from that show because it was just it was just out in the middle of an open field, so it was just sun beating down all day.
Yeah.
And Rabies saw like me and Martin and is just like spraying us with the hose every time he sees us.
Holy shit.
So I went to Lollapalooza 92, 93, 94, and 95, but the 93 year I was late and I did not get to see Rage. We were just stuck basically in a long line of traffic trying to get in.
In what, 93?
In 93.
Was that Philly?
Yeah, in Philly.
I think that's the year they stood out naked on stage.
Yeah, and I missed it.
Wow.
Because they played early that day, and we were stuck in traffic out on fucking 95. To get down by the by the stadiums to get into the park because it was in the park right there.
Yeah. So my Rage trading collection is so deep that I actually have audio recording of the set where they played naked or they stood naked. And it's interesting because it's 17 minutes of people being like, so they get on stage, you hear people laughing, and if you listen, and I've done it, I've listened to the whole 17 minutes. It starts out with people laughing, and then the laughter turns into confusion, and then the confusion turns into anger because they're just like, are they not fucking playing?
Yeah,
what are they doing?
Did people start booing and stuff?
Yeah, so you can really hear the whole just timeline, the whole gamut of human emotion in this audio recording. And I love it, which is like, and then you can hear someone say, oh, hey, look, there's Kurt Loder, and there's Kurt Loder in the distance, and they start shouting Kurt Loder's name. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny. But the whole, it's 17 minutes of feedback, because they literally just stood there naked.
They were
with
like, fuck it.
Feedback going. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, Muttley brought it up, but you've done a significant amount of inside-out tracking down, basically, and you have a little corner of the web where you have like every version of every song that's almost ever existed from them.
Yeah, I actually haven't released that yet. I don't know why I haven't yet. So basically, I've gone. You've seen it, yeah. So I've gone through every known Inside Out recording, which is over 9 hours worth of audio and video recordings, and I've basically indexed it so you can go on there and say, I want to hear every live version of Burning Fight. You just type it in, and it'll bring up a whole playlist, and you can hear the first known recording of Burning Fight from 80 whatever, and then you can hear the last one they played at the 93 reunion. And so it's every known song that was played live, and there exists a live recording for. So there's only one song. So they actually had a whole LP's worth of material that never got like officially recorded, which is crazy because that would have been an amazing record. If you listen to some of these live recordings, you're like, shit, that song would have fucking been fire. Like one of the songs was Deathbed that
108 has put out since.
108 put out. So basically, and if you read the lyrics for Inside Out's Deathbed, it's not identical to the 108 version, but the verse. The opening verse is very similar, and then the chorus is very similar. So basically, when Vic left Inside Out, he like took that with him because he's like, "Oh, we didn't use it, so I'm gonna repurpose it."
That's mine now.
It's mine now. So, but yeah, so I have this whole corner of the web where one day I'm gonna put it out. I think like Rev has been talking about doing a reissue of No Spirits to Surrender they've been talking about it for a long time. But I think that they know about this thing, and I think like whenever they release that, I'm gonna like put this out there with it, so it's like kind of builds it up. So there's only one song in their entire discography that I believe was played at least once, but there's no recording for it. And I'm like, it's out there, so that shit keeps me up at night. I'm like, I need to hear it. There's actually so Vic used to run a zine, and I have a copy of the zine where he actually has the lyrics to that song. So okay. I have the lyrics, but I don't have the fucking music to it. So that's a holy grail for me to find that.
Cider, what's your over under on, let's just call it 2023, hopefully when COVID's over, a 30-year reunion for the reunion of 93?
Wait, the 93 Inside Out reunion?
Yeah.
A reunion of that?
A reunion of that reunion.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I don't see that.
Never ever again.
That's up there with Minor Threat with being 0% chance. Like, which is crazy because I always thought, Judge is never gonna reunite, Burns never gonna reunite, American Nightmare's never gonna reunite, and all of them came back.
I never believed that Burn was never gonna reunite.
Interesting. But what about Judge?
I don't care about Judge. I mean, so it's like it didn't matter to me.
Okay.
So it's obviously not a personal thing. I just never got into them. I obviously have listened to it, but it just didn't have any personal meaning to it. So I didn't have anything like I didn't have a horse in that race. Will Judge come back and play? So when they came back and played, I was like, cool, I'm watching Judge, but it like did not have the impact on me. Whereas like when Martyr AD came and played This Is Hardcore, I was ready to lose every piece, every piece of my body, because I was actually like actively involved in that band in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, that was a band for me. Whereas Judge, I knew of them, I listened to them, I own the records, but it never pulled me.
Fair. Yeah, okay.
See, I figured the Burn thing would probably happen eventually, but it had happened once before already. Like, I saw Burn.
That's why I said.
I saw Burn the first time around, and then I saw when they did a reunion at Coney Island High.
What year was that?
Oh, God, I don't even know. I'd have to look it up. I saw them, like, at the Marquee back in, like, 92, 93, maybe. And then Coney Island High was, like, 90... maybe 99.
Okay.
Because I think it was after Orange 9mm.
Yeah.
That's another reunion I'd still like to see.
So I didn't know this, but apparently Chaka, after Zach left Rage, apparently Chaka may have potentially been approached about joining Rage to fill his shoes.
I had heard that somewhere.
I've been meaning to ask him if that was true.
Yeah, I don't know how true it is, but I do remember hearing that a long time ago.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll tell you a funny Inside Out story that actually has nothing to do directly with them. One of the craziest things I ever saw was 97 Ozfest at Giant Stadium. They had two stages. They had the main stage where you usually have the stage on the end, but then where the soundboard usually is, they had a second stage. And Downset played. And Downset covers Inside Out, and I'm looking down. I'm sitting in like the 100 section or something, and I'm looking down, and Giant Stadium has a giant circle pit.
Wow.
I think they played Burning Fight. I forget which song they used to cover, because I think they may have covered more than one Inside Out song, because I know they did it at CB's also, but it might have been a different song. But yeah, I'm looking down at a giant circle pit for an Inside Out song at Giant Stadium.
Holy shit.
At Ozfest. Like opening for Ozzy and like Pantera and Typo Negative and all these bands. It's like, how many of these kids even know who Inside Out is?
Right, yeah.
What they're even listening to. They
just
dancing the dance.
He was like, yeah, I want to see a circle pit, and everybody was just 100% down. Giant fucking circle pit. It was wild. I just had to share.
I love it.
Sunny, how did you end up like learning how to engineer damn near anything?
Okay.
Because I see
that's a stretch.
I know. Well, I mean, you've got this hanging thing that does camera thing. Yeah.
Over there.
but you've also got, a website that you build, and you've got a server that you run, and clearly you write code for all kinds of things that I could never even imagine. Like, tell me the story of how you decided to go from being Sunny in, middle school getting picked on to Sunny, the guy who can outthink so many other people. And like, how did we get here?
So my dad was an engineer. He's an engineer. So he went to IIT in India, which is like the MIT of India, basically, the Indian Institute of Technology. So he's a civil engineer, or was a civil engineer. I guess he technically still is. And so he was really good with math. Was always helping my older brother and older sister with math. So I actually sucked at math in high school, believe it or not. But I think that like him having a technical background, my older brother was always building forts and building like all kinds of stuff in the garage and with his friends, and I would tag along and try to help build. So I was always really interested in tinkering and stuff. And when we got our first computer, it was a DOS machine. It was a Ketron with DOS on it. And I remember one day I took it apart and I couldn't put it back together, and my parents were so mad about it. So I was really into just taking things apart, trying to reverse engineer it, trying to understand like, okay, this is what this part does. I can take it out and put it back in. Let's see if it turns back on. So I was really interested in just hands-on, let me just fuck with this thing, see what happens. And I think that I continued that spirit throughout. Like, that was, as a kid, I was like, I don't have to figure out how old I was, but that was like early to mid 90s, and I was taking computers apart and taking apart like just electronics in general. And then I remember it must have been like 99 when my dad, I asked him if he could buy me a book on HTML. He's like, yeah, okay. So he bought me a book on HTML, and I like made a GeoCities site or something like that. And like, that was my first introduction to like writing code. And then I remember in middle school, like not knowing what I wanted to do in my life. I was like, maybe I want to go into political science. Maybe I want to do this. I don't really know. So it wasn't until high school that I fell in love with like mathematics and computer science. A big part of it was Darren Aronofsky's Pi, the movie Pi. Which
I love that movie.
I watched that movie like there was a stretch of time where I honestly think I watched it daily, if not weekly, for just a whole stretch of months. And looking back, there are a lot of mathematical inaccuracies in that movie, but there was something about it with the protagonist being this like isolated computer nerd who lives in an apartment of just servers and computers, and he's trying to find patterns in the stock market. Something about that resonated with me, and I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to live in an apartment where it's just computers all around me, and I'm using those computers to do all kinds of crazy shit. And that's literally what I'm doing now.
That's what you're doing.
I was going to say, that sounds exactly like what you're doing.
I have so many goddamn computers in this room right now, and like so many hard drives just spinning. And so I really think that like, one, I came from a childhood and upbringing where I was really interested in tinkering and taking things apart, and then really coming into my own of just appreciating technology and all things tech. So I went to undergrad for math, and I like tried minoring in physics, and I was not good at physics. I like abandoned that. So I just focused on math, and I was programming since high school, and I decided to not pursue like programming in college. I took like a couple classes here and there, and it was fine. But I ended up getting my master's in computer science. That was at that point I was starting to learn about. Let me back up a little bit. So when I was in high school in 2000, this must have been 2002-ish, 2003. In my computer science class, the teacher had a professor from Drexel come in. I don't remember the professor's name, but he came in one day to talk about, here are all the things you can do with a computer science degree. You can like work in financial trading. You can do this or that. And then he mentioned, he's like, believe it or not, they actually use algorithms to grade essays on the GRE exam, and they use these algorithms to grade like standardized testing. And I remember sitting in that classroom being like, that's bullshit. There's no way a algorithm can read an essay and grade it. Like, I don't fucking believe it. So Len is laughing because fast forward to 2015, I'm out of grad school. I worked at a couple tech companies up until this point. 2015, I get a job at ETS, who does the GRE exam, and I'm working in their speech and natural language group, writing algorithms to grade essays.
Which ties into the earlier portion of this conversation, because I told my mom, who happened to work for ETS pretty much since 1982, doing programming, that my friend Sunny is now working for the same company. You should go by or have him stop by your office and just meet him.
Did I meet her once? I don't even know if I met her
one time.
Once, and which is crazy, only one time.
You were in the same building, but she was a manager at the time, and she had her head down all the time, just work. She worked, you could catch her at 3 a.m. fixing some massive error, and no surprise that ETS had some massive error. But like, you know what I mean? Like, she was up for my entire lifetime until she retired 2 years ago. She was constantly on. It could be 3 a.m. It could be 2 p.m. on a Sunday. She was available and fixing issues.
I believe
so,
it.
As a kid, my mom taught me how to program in BASIC at 4.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
So it was just like simple programming. She was like, change the color on the screen.
Yeah.
Do this. Make something scroll across the screen. And I mean, we're talking like literally 1980, 81 on like a Commodore whatever 64 computer, like whatever, one of those like trashy computers that you would have in the house back in the day with a 5.5-inch floppy disk or a 5-inch or whatever the size it was.
I remember those days for sure.
But in high school I learned how to program in COBOL and Fortran, and that was the moment where I was like, I don't think I want to do this for a life.
Yeah.
Like, it's too tedious for me as a guy who doesn't pay attention to mundane details. So I would end up like the dude in Office Space writing some shitty code and ending up with like $300,000 in the bank overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. So my brother once said something that I think is very accurate about me. He said to someone, he's like, Sunny isn't someone who like makes the time to do something. He said that I find the time. No, he doesn't say I find the time. He says that I make the time to do it. And I think that's true, because when I'm like obsessed with solving a problem, like I'm going to do whatever it takes to like learn the bare minimum I need to learn to get it done or get like a viable solution done. So like I'm a decent programmer. I'm not the best programmer by any stretch of the word, but like if I'm trying to, like, for example, when I built Sage, like Sage is this like a band recommendation algorithm on the site. Like I had already been working on something similar at my last tech job, so I already had a fundamental understanding of it, but I had never built like a front end interactive UI for something like that. So I literally just like taught myself. All right, I think I talked to Chris Brickhouse, because Brickhouse does a lot of front end UI, and I was like, hey, what do I need to know? He's like, you should learn X, Y, and Z. So I was like, all right, I'm going to learn X, Y, and Z. And that was enough for me to like get a first version up and running. And
right.
So whether it's software or me building like fucking camera contraptions, like I'm working on one right now. Like I have this whole like circuit board right here. Like I was literally I have a book open right here. And last night I was watching YouTube videos, like watching someone talk about working on something similar. So I feel like my strength has always been, okay, I have an idea. I see the goal. I don't see the path to get to it. So I'm just going to start consuming as much information as I can to figure out the shortest path to get there. And it might not be the most, I shouldn't say shortest path. I'm going to find whatever path I can to get there. It might not be the shortest or most efficient, but it is a path to get there. So I'm constantly just like watching YouTube videos at 2x speed, because I feel like I'm downloading information like I'm in the fucking Matrix. So I'm like listening at 2x speed, like okay, yeah, got it, and I move on, and then like sometimes I got to go back and watch it again because I didn't actually retain any of it. But I love doing that because I feel like I've never taken a class in mechanical engineering. So when I built that camera contraption, that was just me coming up with an idea, coming up with a couple like toy models, seeing like, okay, this doesn't work, but like,
so
honestly,
one second. This camera contraption that he's talking about, for everybody listening, it's like as if you go to the NFL and you look up and you see the camera that's sliding around on that wire that's tracking all the shit that's going on with the football throughout the whole game. Sunny has created his own version that he could technically tie at a show to 2 pieces of the wall or whatever and track all, somebody else might have to actually run it because he's going to be busy with his arm in the air, at that 90-degree angle, catching, all the cool shit going on stage or wherever. But, you're able to somehow pull together just the right amount of knowledge to get these wild-ass products that I would never even consider building.
Yeah, and I think that because a lot of people because like I'm doing Hate5Six full time, and people are like, "How do you do it? How did you do it?" And I'm like, "I just tried it. I was afraid to try it for the longest time, and I was like, I need to try this now because if I don't try and I if I don't try it, I'm gonna like look back and regret being like, damn, maybe I should have tried it. My thinking was, if I try and fail, at least I know I tried. And I'd rather try it and go through that process of failing than to live with the regret of doubting or not knowing if I could have done it. So I think that I still do that because if I have an idea, I'm like, I'm just going to try it. It might fail. Like, I'm going to build this thing. It might not work, but at least I'll know that I tried. And I say this a lot in interviews, and I think there's a reason it comes up a lot, because I think it's very true, is I think failure is important because, like, getting positive feedback is good. Like, yeah, great, all these good feelings. Like, I'm succeeding, whatever. But when you fail, you get so much information from failing that when you try to do whatever it is a second time, you're able to come at it with fresh eyes, or you're able to be like, you know what? I'm not going to do it this way because the last time I did it this way, it failed. So I'm just going to like change my approach slightly. So I hate failing, but I also love it because I think that it tells you so much more about who you are, what your limitations are, and how you can like adapt and get around it. So I think that when I take on these projects, it's partially because like I'm testing myself to see, all right, what I'm starting this project. What is the ceiling? Because there's going to be some part of this project that I don't know how to solve. And I want to know what it is because I want to know what's on the other side of that fucking wall. So that's what always drives me, it's wanting to know what's on the other side of some sort of ceiling that's preventing me from immediately jumping from A to B.
I totally agree with you because I taught my kids that when they were younger, that you try to do something, and even if you fail, don't be afraid to fail because you still learn something from it. Even if you don't get what you're trying to get, there's still a learning experience there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just like skateboarding, or in my case BMX. Like, you do the shit over and over again because you're not going to land it the first time. But the more you do it, it's like a feedback loop. You're subconsciously teaching your body to like react in a certain way or move differently the next time you do it. So I don't know. It's baked into who I am ever since a kid growing up riding BMX and tinkering with shit. Is just, I'm just going to try this thing. It might work, it might not, but fuck, I'm just going to try it. So what's the worst? If it fails, then maybe people will laugh at me for like a day, but then they're going to forget about it and whatever. So every time like I do a stream with Len and like, they don't always go well. Like, sometimes I have an audio sync issue and I get bummed about it, but then I go home and I'm like, all right, let me figure out what went wrong, and the next time we do it, it's hopefully going to work better. Yeah. So, and again, people will complain about it in the moment during the stream, being like, damn, this fucking audio's out of sync, I can't watch this. And yeah, I get bummed about it, but then they're not going to remember that they hated that stream. It doesn't matter.
If it was a persistent issue, like every time you did a stream, it was fucked up, then it would follow you. But it's okay to fail once in a while.
Yeah.
I fail all the time. Like, literally, almost every time I mix a band, I fail somewhere along the way. Or if I'm editing something, I fail along the way. And I hardly ever make the exact same error multiple times. Because, again, that feedback loop. And even if I do make a similar one, I'm like, oh, I missed that. That was my fault.
Yeah.
But it's like, I decided that I was going to start recording because I went to a recording studio with some friends. And I figured out that this guy that we were recording with had a computer. And he was just going to record us on this fucking computer. This was like 2000. And I was like, oh, you can record on a computer? Fuck it, I'm recording on a computer.
Oh, yeah.
20 years later, I have a fucking dumbass recording studio that people pay me to do records at this point. And, like, I work with you, Sunny, on all kinds of wild shit. And it's literally because I took a chance. I literally just took a chance.
Yeah.
Well, I think also when you're technically minded, because I've dabbled in a lot of things over the years with like web design stuff and like Photoshop stuff and this and that. And I never took lessons, like even playing guitar. Like, I only took a few guitar lessons ever. A lot of it I just learned on my own. And
same
with that, and if you're technically minded, whether you're dealing with like web design or video editing or audio editing or anything like that, like, a lot of times that's how you learn stuff. You make a mistake or you find a way to do it one way and then somebody shows you a faster way and you're like, oh, that's cool. You know, there's just, and when it comes to anything, like I've run into it with music, but I've run into it with other stuff too. Sometimes, you know, you make a mistake, but then you end up discovering something totally cool that you wouldn't expect. I mean, listen, go back to Rage. Look at Tom Morello. You know, when did he learn to take the cable out and just touch the cable to a piece of metal on his guitar and make some weird noise, you know?
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
I really think in hindsight that growing up in the hardcore punk community definitely engendered this sense of like, oh, I can do whatever. Because if you think about it, if you go see Metallica, or you go see Rage, whatever it is, like you see them on stage and there's such a big, like there's obviously a physical barrier, like you're up in the fucking nosebleeds and they're playing on a stage and there's like a huge gap. Like there's a physical boundary, but then it creates the sense of like, damn, these people are larger than life. I can never do what they're doing. But if you go to a hardcore show and you're seeing the headlining band like fuck up like they fuck up and whatever, they still go off, they're still having fun. It really trains you to be like, I can do what they're doing. Like I can start a band and you know what I mean? So I think people involved in hardcore punk have a strong sense of like, obviously DIY is a big thing in this community, but really it shows you that like, yeah, you can literally do like this whole community is accessible. Like you can do anything. So I think that going to hardcore shows really empowered me to be like, yeah, I've never built a fucking cable camera thing, but maybe I can try. Like it taught me to not be afraid to try things that I feel like are within my capacity to achieve. And I think that is one of the amazing strengths of like going to a hardcore show is you can go there and you actually see that it's a space where if you want to learn to be a sound engineer, like, yeah, you can start helping out with sound at a show and then you can build up from there. And one day, like maybe own your own recording studio or whatever it is, like there's an accessibility there that I'm thankful I discovered this or fell into this world because I don't know where I would be without it. Again, because if my whole world was just going to like arena concerts and my whole capacity was that, I would never think that like, oh, I can be someone who's working video production for Beyonce or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I just started filming shows and now like I get to do all this cool shit. So I think it's just a beautiful thing to like see that those experiences from going to shows actually trained me to want to just try everything that I can.
So, again, at 12, I was riding bikes with Andy through the neighborhoods, especially on garbage day, looking for old speakers, stereo equipment, whatever. Anything I could find, we were taking it. If it looked like it worked, we were going to take it, and we were going to build this monster system. So at my house and at his house, we had just like the most ridiculous, for sure, not ohm efficient that were... I mean, at 12, I went to Radio Shack because there was a Radio Shack at the time. I mean, obviously.
Shout out Radio Shack.
Thing. Shout out to old school Radio Shack. I bought my first soldering iron and solder at 12. And I'm just like trying things out. So when I built my studio, I sat down and soldered the whole fucking thing together myself because of things I decided to learn as a small kid, fucking things up in my basement.
I love it.
So, I mean, my trajectory is different than yours, but it mirrors like the thing, and that I think that's one of the reasons why we work well together is that like I'm able to troubleshoot issues from an audio standpoint on the fly because I've encountered similar issues before, and I'm just using that knowledge. And like, I would fear for you if I ever decide to stop, like, and just retire recording, that the person that would take over for me, not that there aren't other engineers out there that couldn't do it, it's the years of experience.
Yeah.
Do they have it?
That is my fear. I think about that a lot. Like, damn, if Len stops, I'm honestly fucked. Like, I mean, I could find
there are
someone.
other people.
There's other people, but we have a rapport
Right.
that can't be replicated first and foremost. But also, like, you have the knowledge of running live sound that not a lot of people do. Like, people think that people think that recording a set at This Is Hardcore or even a live stream is just like recording a band in the studio, and it's not. It's like completely different. And even I know that, and I'm not even an audio guy. Like, I know that there's a difference there. And you can't just expect to throw someone in there who's never done it and be like, oh yeah, you're gonna nail it. Like, they're gonna run into issues that only you probably know how to solve because you've been doing it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and granted, people out there, I have failed multiple times, but in the failure, I still recovered enough for it to be usable. Because you have to be paying attention the whole time, and as soon as you stop paying attention, that is when calamity will hit.
Shout out to this few This Is Hardcore dropouts.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point now with some of the things that we've purchased that there are a few dropout issues. Now it just comes down to paying attention.
Yeah.
It comes down to mic positioning. But one of the things that I would say is that people think that, as you said, it's like doing a record, but it's such a different experience than doing a record because, Muttley, you remember when All Out War was playing at This Is Hardcore and that girl kept kicking the microphone?
Yep.
There are no girls kicking the microphone in the studio. But if you listen to one of the sets, I think it was 2016, maybe, the right-hand guitar on stage, if you're looking at the video, whatever's on the right-hand side, you're going to hear that microphone move.
Yeah.
And it's something that I couldn't see from my vantage point to know that she was kicking the microphone over and over.
Was it the vocal mic or on the cab?
On the cab. So
she was kicking it?
Yeah, it kept kicking it over. Because she was, because there's all the stage potatoes and people knocked into the mics. So
I love that term.
You know how I solved that problem, Sonny? Those Hughes and Kettner red boxes.
Oh,
and that is the reason why I did the search to try and find something that could not be moved no matter how much you kick the microphone, as long as that's still plugged in. If the microphones move for some reason, I still have a salvageable sound to use.
I love it.
Jeremy has told me that it saved his ass on a number of mixes because the microphone got kicked or moved.
I love redundancy. Yeah, no, yes.
The last session we just did, like 2 weeks ago, the kick drum mic got moved like literally 10 seconds into the first song.
That was my fault because my Ethernet cable, I think, got caught up in it.
It doesn't matter whose fault it was. It got moved, but I had a kick drum mic inside the kick drum that never got lost. So redundancy is important. Sometimes you lose the top snare mic, but you got the one on the bottom. You can run a sample. Yep. It's, being sure that you have enough to recreate faithfully what happened in the room at the time that it happened.
Yep.
Well, there's also a difference between doing live sound and doing live sound or video in a full contact environment like what we deal with all the time.
Yeah. I mean, because, if I was going to set up for, Rage Against the Machine, ain't nobody getting near the cabs or the drums. Everything is going to be perfect the whole time. So you can really spend your time. But, especially at a thing like This Is Hardcore, you have to be able to jump on stage and off stage in the matter of 10 minutes and get everything set and then get back up there and press that record button.
But that's why I give you guys so much credit, and especially Sonny, because he's up in there in the mix
all day.
Because over the year, I've done live sound, I've taken pictures at shows, I'm just standing in the crowd at shows, and I've played, tons of shows, and it's like, you never know what can happen. I've been kicked and punched while I'm playing,
Dude, you had your tooth broken, didn't you?
Me?
No, Sonny.
Oh
Sunny?
yeah, at Mindset's last Baltimore hometown show, my second song and my camera got punched into my face. Like someone got really excited, jumped in front of me, swung his arms back, punched the camera in my face, and I broke. This is actually half of this tooth is fake, so I had to get pulled. So that was the worst, I think, physical damage I've personally taken. But like, yeah, I'm getting kicked. I'm dodging stage divers.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying. I give you guys credit because and I've done it before, but not nearly as much as you guys do. Like just being up in the mix, and I mean, I know it from doing sound, but playing, working as a bouncer, all that stuff. Like I've been kicked and punched, God knows how many times,
Mm-hmm.
and I, never holding a very expensive piece of equipment, so. You always got to worry about all those little variables that come with just the madness.
Oh, yeah.
It's a full contact sport.
So how do you stay fueled at these shows, Sonny? Or are you literally working on empty most of the time?
This is hardcore. I'm largely running on empty. I'll ask people to because the changeover is what, 10 minutes? Tops? 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And that's not enough time for me to get off stage, go outside, run through a crowd to the food truck and wait in line to get food. Sometimes it is, but largely I got to be like, hey, I'll ask a friend. Like I'll ask Josh Durst. I'm like, hey, if I give you $15, can you give me like a sandwich? And he's like, yeah, I got you. But largely it's running on empty. And like, Len, I don't think you've ever stayed with me for This Is Hardcore. I think you had to stay in once.
I stayed once. Just for one night.
So I don't know if you noticed this, but like people will stay with me. So we basically This Is Hardcore. The show will end at like midnight. By the time we pack up and leave, it might not be 2 a.m.
1 o'clock, 1, 2, yeah.
So we get back to my place. I got to situate everyone who's staying with me, set up there, whatever. They make sure they're all set up. Then I have to dump memory cards. All the stuff I recorded that day.
Oh man!
I have to dump those cards. And then 2, just because I'm anal about it, create a backup of it, just in case I lose whatever drive it's on. And so I got to do that, and I got to double check I have everything saved before I wipe those cards for the next day. And so I'm up until 4 in the morning doing that. So people who stay with me, they'll go to bed seeing me at my computer, and I'll get a couple hours of sleep, but they'll wake up and I'm already on my computer again. I'm fully dressed, ready to go. I'm getting my stuff ready. But that's it. So it's not just that I don't eat or take a shit during the fest. I also don't sleep. I also don't, barely even sleep for 3 days. So for me, it's a marathon because, I mean, yeah, I could hire someone to film the first 3 bands and whatever. I'll take a break, but I can't do it. I've done it so many times by myself, or I've done all of it on my own, that I feel like if I relax even just a little bit, it's going to be like, oh, I'm slipping. I'm losing it. I'm losing my touch. So for me, This Is Hardcore, or any of these big fests, is like the marathon that I spend the entire year building up to.
I was going to say, that's the WrestleMania for you.
It's my WrestleMania, exactly.
Yeah. Well, technically it's mine as well, because people think it's really easy to do the things that I have to do, but my preparation for showing up starts probably 2 weeks in advance before This Is Hardcore is even happening. So I'm pulling together, microphones. I'm making lists of things. I'm packing wires and switching around, inputs to make sure that I have enough stuff to bring with me and that I have redundant things in case something breaks on the spot, because I'm going to be stuck 40 minutes from my studio. It's not an easy transition to drive home and drive back.
Yeah.
I'm making sure I have everything. And then once I get there, I got to get there early to interface with the house sound, because they are my lifeline to splitting signals and working around to have my own clean signals where I want it. Right. And then all day I'm staring at blinking lights while bands are playing in the distance, and I'm ensuring that A, no mics go out, B, if they do go out, someone is informed, or I dive on stage myself It's long days, and I don't really go eat. I don't really go to the bathroom, because any time spent away from the machine is a potential for a calamity.
Yeah. I mean, we joked about this last year because I played and you were there doing your thing the whole weekend, and like we talked for all of like 2 minutes the entire week.
Yep, because I was busy, you were busy.
Yeah.
But then again, when we go to leave, I literally set the machine to do a backup while I'm gone. I just leave the computer on and let it back up to a hard drive, and then when I get back in the morning, I set up a second computer and back that up to a second hard drive so I don't lose anything. I have 2 copies of it by the time I get home, so that in the case that something goes wrong with one, I still have the other. I don't always do that if we go out to just a single shoot, because at a single shoot, I'm working on one flash drive, and as long as the material's in there, it's in there.
Right.
But at This Is Hardcore, I'm literally running 3 different drives. There's the one that I'm printing to as we work, and then the 2 that I'm backing up to just in case.
Yeah, it's a lot of work that people don't see, and they can't. It's not something the average person could stomach, I don't think.
No.
I know I couldn't. I would lose my mind.
How many terabytes do you have right now?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. So
that means it's bad.
Of actual footage?
Yeah.
About 50 terabytes.
Okay. Because I have just I think it's 3 terabytes worth of audio just for you.
Okay.
So that, and that's saved from basically 2011 straight through, or 2012, or whenever it was that we started working together till now.
So you have all of that still?
Yeah, there's only 1 year missing. I don't know what happened to it.
What year was that?
2016.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 2017. You probably have a backup of a bunch of it, but for some reason I lost it in one of my transfers. Secondarily, one of my drives, I bought a 12 terabyte drive 6 months ago because it was on special. I backed up literally everything in that I had in my studio to that 12 terabyte. Fucking died. So now I got to figure out.
Really?
Yeah.
And was that the one I told you about that time?
Yeah.
And it died that quick?
It died.
Oh,
I literally was just sitting on my desk. I plugged it in, wouldn't light up for nothing.
Oh man.
So, and I emptied out all my other stuff onto it. So now I've lost all my back catalog from 2006, other than the stuff that I did for Sunny. The stuff for Sunny is on this drive. Everything else is on that other drive, and it's all gone. So if any band hits me up, you're out of luck, guys. Sorry.
I remember you telling me about that. I didn't realize it was the one that I had mentioned to you that time. Oh,
it's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why I have multiple redundant backups. I'm constantly just paranoid of losing shit.
Yeah. Well, now I've relearned my lesson. Everything was on a bunch of separate drives, and I was like, I need to consolidate this. And I was going to buy another drive to back that one up, and before I could even do it, it died. So anyway,
we might be able to salvage it.
Yeah, we might.
I
was going to actually send it away to one of the places that do that specifically, but if you can do it, I would certainly trust you to do it, or at least try, because I mean the shit's gone anyway, so what's the worst that happens? But where I was going with it when I was asking you about how do you stay fulfilled with food wise when it comes to This Is Hardcore, I want to come eat at your mom's house. I want some real deal fucking food.
Hell yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is, what are your top 3 meals that your mom makes for you?
Top 3.
Yeah.
So she is known. Whenever I come home, my dad gets excited because he knows that my mom's going to make a couple special things for me to eat. She'll make a pakora, which is it's basically veggies in what is it? chickpea flour and you deep fry it.
Okay.
It's kind of like samosa is like a baked thing, but pakora is like deep fried. And then so she'll make that. She'll make puri. Puri is like like what naan is. Naan is like a thick bread. Puri is like a
naan
very
is fucking delicious, bro.
Yeah, puri is this thin, like fluffy.
Is it like wafery a little bit?
A little bit. I mean, it's very greasy. It's very greasy. It's very thin, but it's basically a bread. So she'll make that, and I also just love a good, here's the thing. I hated Indian food growing up because it's all we would eat. And then I went to college, and damn, I fucking miss Indian food. So now I love it. Love it.
So growing up, I hated Indian food because I was not into spicy. I was not into like crazy flavors. And as an adult, I'm obsessed with Indian food.
Yeah. She made this dish recently. I forget what it was, but she had this element of like a coconut chutney in it, and I don't like coconut at all. But there was something about it. I was like, you know what? I fuck with this. I got to find out what that was because I actually need her to make that for me again.
So, I know you started doing videos with her where you were kind of taping her cooking, but it didn't really continue. I want to do an episode where she teaches me a real deal way to make a couple things. Like, I want to know what I need to put in my fucking spice rack so I don't got to go to the goddamn store. So I don't have to go to the, like, Palace of Asia or whatever and get what I would consider is probably subpar Indian food because I don't feel like I'm getting the full experience. I'm getting the Americanized experience. I want that real deal shit.
Well, here's the thing. I ran a poll a year ago asking my viewers, like, maybe it must have been less than a year. It was because I think I was like, hey, I need to start creating other content because like we don't have shows anymore. So I think I ran a poll and I was like, how many of you would be into a cooking show with my mom where she teaches you how to make like a vegan, like an Indian dish? And so many people were like, I need this. I need a monthly cooking show because we did a one pilot episode in like 2012 and people loved it. And so it's been on my to-do list. And I told my mom, and she's like a rolled her eyes. She's like, I can't do that. My dad was like, you have to do this. So I'm into doing it. I mean, I'm glad you brought it up because I kind of forgot. I'm actually helping my friend Rachel film a cooking show on Wednesday. So that I'm slowly getting back into the mindset of like filming cooking shows. So I'm gonna bring the idea back up to my mom. Part of it
let's just start a cooking show between us. And just invite your mom in.
We could do that.
It's Hate5 Snacks.
Hate5 Snacks, yeah. I love it.
But my problem is, it's just like I've figured out how to make real deal Mexican food and real deal Italian food. By eating a lot of it, as you might have guessed, looked at me, but also research, going to restaurants where people who are actually Italian or actually Mexican or Guatemalan, etc., are cooking and like really paying attention to the flavors that I'm tasting. And there's a difference. Like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna eat Mexican food, and they go to like some shitty place, like this place in my town called Mexican Mariachi that tastes like cardboard, and they're like, oh, it's spicy. I'm like, yo, it doesn't taste like, I'd rather eat my desk. My desk probably tastes better than this food. I come to my house and I will make you Mexican food, and I guarantee you it will blow that away.
Right.
That's what I want to get to when it comes to making Indian dishes. Like, I tried it a few weeks ago and I got close, and I know I was close, but I feel like I was missing something. Okay. And the only way to learn is to learn from a master.
That's true.
I know your mother is a master.
My mom is definitely a master, and she loves being in front of the camera. She'll deny it, but she loves being in front of the camera.
No, your mom loves that shit. You can see it in her eyes. They just boom. She's like, oh, I was meant for this.
I mean, she's gone viral larger than I have.
I know.
Like that video of her finding out she's gonna be a grandmother. That went. She got on BuzzFeed, on Huffington Post. Some newspaper in India printed her fucking picture. Like,
really?
Yeah. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
So she's I think she knows deep down that she's got to be She's got the knack for being on camera.
Well, I'm looking forward to when COVID is over that we can get this together, or I'll even go take a fucking test or 6, and we can get
100%.
So that's what where I want to jump off to. COVID. What is your fear when it comes to the length of time that we're going to be stuck in this situation?
So we're facing another lockdown on Friday. I honestly don't think we're gonna. Are we gonna have shows in 2021?
It doesn't look like it.
I'm not feeling good about it. And they're talking about a vaccine or whatever, but that's gonna take a long time to get passed around because there's so many people who have to get it first, and like there's gonna be a lot of people who don't take it. There's a lot of people who want to wait for. I also don't even know if I would take the vaccine immediately. Like I'd want to see
that somebody.
Are people okay taking this thing? Or they're not like...
Yeah, it's real questionable. We've talked about it on the show before that one of the things with all the stuff that's happened is just, there was always distrust of the government, but now it's at an all-time high.
It's all-time high. And I'm like,
once you introduce this vaccine and consider the fact that it's cut a lot faster, they cut the time a lot faster than it usually takes. Some of these vaccines take like 3 or 4 years.
I know.
So there's a lot of people that have doubts about it, just like you're talking about, because I definitely have doubts about it.
Yeah.
And then even then, best circumstances, you take that out of the equation, it's still going to be quite a while before it reaches regular people.
Right. And obviously hardcore shows are a full contact sport, like you said. Oh. That's going to be the last thing that goes back to what it was.
Yeah,
right?
Because those are so low on the priority list.
Yeah.
I mean, live music in general, because there's, there's so many venues that are closing.
And that's one of my biggest concerns. All these venues we're starting to lose, and we will lose. Like, what the fuck's going to happen?
Because I don't know if you heard that place Blackthorn in Queens that Kevin Castle used to book, they announced that they're done.
Yeah, I heard. I saw Walter's posts.
Yeah,
I assumed.
his posts pledging his love for the place.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have, I'm good with Kevin, but I had no love for that place either for various reasons, which some people are aware of.
Last week they just closed down, or Boot and Saddle said they're closing.
Boot and Saddle, we lost. Yeah. So my fear,
an offshoot of a union transfer, right?
Right. So my fear is coming back, and it's all going to be like Clear Channel venues or whatever, like Live Nation channels, like venues. Right. Like, what the fuck are we going to do? And
so my answer to you is that hardcore will go back to the VFW.
That would be great. I would welcome that.
Because we have existed inside and outside the realm of bigger clubs and continued on with or without the support. It will continue. I think the contraction will be great because all the fair weather kids will be gone.
Yep. There's going to be some attrition or whatever. Like, people are not going to come back, which is great. Like, I mean, it's going to weed out some people.
You may have some trouble in the big cities because of the rents and stuff. I mean, listen, New York, I hate to say it, but New York was already half dead before COVID because there's so few venues. And, like when we had Rich Hall on, we were talking about St. Vitus. It's like they open the new apartment building across the street, and then it's TikTok because then the noise complaints start and all that shit.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Fuck.
Yeah. And then, your best spot is a place like Kingsland, which is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But because it's in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be a while before they open anything up because it's not like people are just going there to get a drink.
Right.
Yep.
So even if they open up without shows, it's not like they're going to get any traffic. So it's all really messed up.
Did you see this thing with Ticketmaster where they're going to have like COVID scanning?
Oh yeah.
That fucking creeps me out because that's
I'm not going.
That's setting the stage for, and people are all about it. People are like, if that's what it's going to take, I'll do it. It's like, wait a minute, what?
That's because people are desperate to get out of the house.
And I'm like, then that's just welcoming all kinds of invasive shit.
There's
I'm
so
not about
much. That. Yeah, but it's gonna happen all kinds of places. Like we always talked about it. Like once they start saying your kids can't come back to school until they're vaccinated or whatever, it's like it's just gonna be a whole new round of bullshit. But for that stuff, like who's gonna get a COVID test and then pay $75 to stand?
Not
right,
me.
Because that's the way, like some of these shows, it's like, yeah, it's a general admission show at like Irving Plaza or something, and like it's $75. Like, really? Like,
and they're going to have to, the prices are going to have to go up because they're not going to be able to pack as many people in either. So that $75 is going to be $100.
Yeah, because now you got your touring band. I mean, we talked about this a long time ago. Just the mathematics of like anything beyond a local show is totally fucked. Because you price these things a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
Based on the capacities and everything else. You cut your capacities. You're going to have to cut some places out of the tour, and your mathematics are all shot. So either the ticket price goes up or you just don't do it.
Or you could just be trapped and play at a fucking strip club to 3 people and it's fine.
Yeah, well, the dudes in Rat aren't doing that. It's just it's such a mess, and I don't even know. I don't know how it's all going to work. I look at it from the point of view of a fan, but also I look at it like with my band, and like, yeah, nobody's in a rush to play a show right now, but even once the shows start, like, we're probably not going to get the money that we used to get, which means we're not, not that we were ever really making money to begin with, but, instead of breaking even, we're going to go to Virginia at a loss. Like, I don't know how all that's going to work. And that's for a band, on our small level. Like some of these bigger bands, it's like, I really don't know.
Right.
Well, didn't you have like 15 Rage Against the Machine tickets?
So here's the thing. Yeah, so I got into a car accident last December. I crashed my car. I stayed up the night before to go to The Last Jedi. Was it The Last Jedi? Was it the most recent one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't tell me you wasted it on that movie.
Yeah, so no. So I stayed up for that screening, whatever, until like 1 a.m. I didn't sleep that day, and the next day I had to go shoot a show in Flemington, New Jersey, and I fell asleep at the wheel at like 2 p.m. because I didn't sleep the night before.
For The Last Jedi? Oh.
Yeah, of all things. So I crashed my car, rear-ended this guy, totaled my car. I got a check for like whatever from Geico for like $3,000 or whatever, and I used all that money to buy 15 Rage Against the Machine tickets. So fuck the car, fuck the G-Ride, right? I want the tickets that are going to take me to see Rage. So I bought them, and I was like, all right, this is happening. I'm finally seeing them after all these years, and then COVID hit. And I'm like, well, this is fucked. But I will say that I did. So what was unfortunate for me is Rage basically they had I think all the tickets, the base price was like $100 or whatever, but then they had charity tickets that were higher price, and the reason that they had that was to combat scalpers. So they were offering charity tickets where the money, the large portion of the money would go to a charity, but they were priced higher, anywhere from like $200, $300, $400, $500 per ticket, but the money would go to charity. But again, it was still cheaper than what scalpers would be selling. So they were doing it for 2 reasons: to fight the scalpers and to raise money. So I ended up only getting GA, like general admission tickets, for $100 for like a handful of them, and the rest I had to dish out money for like the charity tickets. And I was like, fuck, it was not good on my bank account. And that included like Coachella tickets and all the couple other like fests that they were going to do before they announced doing the whole tour. So what ended up happening is, because of COVID, you were allowed to get refunds on your tickets even months later. So what I did was I was able to refund all of my expensive charity tickets and people were also refunding their general admission. So I ended up returning all of the overpriced tickets, and and a lot of those overpriced tickets were nosebleeds. So originally I only had like 2 general admission and then like 13 nosebleeds. Okay. But after the refund period, I was able to get base price GA for all of them. So it worked out in the end, but I honestly don't know if these shows are ever going to happen now, because I'm like, right. like you said, like Gary was saying, even in 2021, if they have shows, it's going to have to be at reduced capacity. Like, what's going to happen? Is the band like, how is that going to work?
That's what I was saying when they kept trying to reschedule things. It's like, okay, you've got a stadium show, but now you got to reduce it to like 1/3 capacity. Like, what are you going to do? Just pick the even numbered seats? Like,
I know
how would, like, they would have to drop it and put it on sale all over again.
I know. So I'm hoping, dude, because I was so stressed out about, like, Rage is my favorite band. I'm going to see them as many times as I can with however much, like, whatever I can. So I spent so much of my energy just, like, mentally preparing to be online, to get these Ticketmaster tickets, to, like, I had a couple people helping me, so I have tickets for a couple friends. A couple of my friends got tickets for me. So it's a whole coordinated thing. I don't want to have to do that again. Like, I just want...
Don't you have an RSS feed for anything that comes up with Rage Against the Machine in it?
I do, and I actually I wrote a code for an Instagram bot that would notify me when their Instagram account would post something new, because basically no one knew when tickets were going up, and so it was obviously going to be announced from their Instagram account. So I built a bot that was rechecking their feed for any time they posted something. It was checking like every couple milliseconds. That's how obsessive it was. And then it would email me saying, like, a new post went up, go check it right now. And it was running, and it, like, worked. It was, like, picking up, like, their general posts, and then the bot got banned by Instagram because they detected it was bot-like activity.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Because I don't think there's, like, an RSS feed that would notify me, like, with that granularity of, like, time, with that granularity of time.
A second of it happened.
To be like, they just announced it, go log on right now. So I built a fucking bot and then it got banned. So I don't want to have to go through that process again, because it was way too stressful for me. Okay, I can't do it.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy. I don't know if there's anything I would go to that level on. Not that I could anyway, because I don't have the skill.
It's obsessive. It's obsessive.
But just in general, when you're doing shows like that and they go on sale, and I honestly know this for 2 reasons, because the last time I went to see Iron Maiden, and also, Len, we talked about that show that I went to at Madison Square Garden that was the wrestling show, the Ring of Honor New Japan show.
Right.
It was ridiculously hard to get tickets for that. And I was sitting there at my desk at work, just constantly checking. And then that's how I finally got 2 tickets. Like, it was sold out, and then suddenly it wasn't sold out.
Yeah, because somebody dropped out of the whole.
Like, I spent like a good couple of hours just constantly hitting it. And then I finally hit jackpot. So just getting tickets for any of those shows is like such a pain in the ass. I can't imagine trying to get tickets for every one of those shows.
I never really spent a lot of time looking for tickets. Like, I just never ever did it. If I couldn't get them on, like, the first shot, I just wasn't going.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the bandwidth mentally to put in that kind of effort. I mean, I love you both for the fact that you did, but I just don't have it.
Yeah.
So, Sunny, have you noticed in Philadelphia a ton of things going out of business? Because here in my area, everything is starting to shut down. So this is one of the subjects that me and Gary have touched on a number of times over the last couple, like, we'll call it 6 months or 7 months, however long we've been doing this show.
Like permanent closures?
Yeah, permanent closures.
I feel like I haven't seen a lot yet. I mean, obviously, Boot and Saddle, we lost the venue, and I think maybe, I don't know, nothing on my radar. I mean, the places that I typically go to for, like, food or whatever, they're still kicking it. So to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything major.
So Philly is not hit as bad, I guess, because there's such a density of people that that need food, and also it's kind of a food desert. I've been in Philadelphia a few times myself, and it's like, other than Acme and one other spot, there's barely anywhere else to buy food. Like, obviously there's the Whole Foods on South, and the Whole Foods, like, I guess it's on 22nd and whatever, but I just find that, like, the only way you're eating is if you go to the Italian market and buy some fresh produce, or somewhere else that you happen to know that has it, one of the shitty grocery stores, or then you got to go and eat from some restaurant that's offering food available.
Yeah.
My town is slowly contracting. I sent Gary earlier this week, or maybe it was over the weekend, a notice from the gym, because about 10, 12 years ago, I spent a lot of time at this gym getting in shape, and they recently decided that they had enough, and COVID restrictions had made it to the point where they could no longer exist after 24 years in business.
Oh shit.
So it's just like, more and more as we creep closer and closer to this being a year in lockdown. I mean, not that we're truly locked down at this point, but you know what I'm getting at. I feel like it's just going to continue to just get worse.
It's going to get worse now because it's getting colder. Some places like New York City have this whole outdoor dining thing.
Yeah, we have outdoor dining here as well.
Right, but
Can't do that
like
so long.
Like this week, it's supposed to go down. New York on Wednesday, the high is going to be 39 degrees.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so
I'm not sitting outside for that.
Yeah, so who's sitting outside? And I see, it's not. It's like a steady one or two a week that I see going out of business in my general area. Because I think I don't know if we talked about it on air, but I think I mentioned you, Len, a while ago. Like, girlfriend and I found this cool hot dog place up in Nanuet by my mother. Yeah. Over the weekend, they dropped the thing that they were closing, that they were going to close December 12th. Mm-hmm. And then, like, a day later, they're like, well, unfortunately, both of our cooks found new jobs right away, and we told them to do what they got to do for their families, so today was the last day.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I've seen a few other places like that. Chinese food place right by my job closed up. And when Chinese food places are closing, it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So, it's just, it's slow and steady. Some of them are trying to creep through, but as it gets colder, it's going to be harder to do that whole outdoor thing. And you're going to see more start to go down. And especially if they ever do something with the evictions, then everybody's really in trouble.
Because these tents ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care how much heat you got in that damn tent. It's going to be cold.
The last I heard is that evictions are off until the end of the year. So unless
that's
somebody...
just for New York, or is that for the entire U.S.?
That's for New York. I don't know about everywhere else. Because I think it's really, it's decided locally. So,
well, January 1st is a horrible time to try and evict somebody. It's too fucking cold for that.
Well, and that's just the beginning. Once the cascade happens and the people that lost their jobs start getting evicted from home, back to the same old shit that we've been waiting for since, we started this podcast.
So my job actually told me 2 weeks ago that we're going to be home indefinitely, but at least not to plan to be back in the office till July.
Holy shit, till at least July.
At least July. So at that point, I'll have been working from my house for 15 months straight.
That's crazy.
At that point, in my opinion, you just close the office. You don't need it anymore. If we've made it 15 months straight, then maybe we don't need to see each other. Maybe we can just...
I think a lot of tech companies are realizing that they're like moving to like, oh, if you want to be full time after this or remote after this, like, okay. I think a lot of tech companies are moving that direction.
A lot of companies in general are going in that direction because I know somebody else. I think I mentioned this to you recently, Len. I won't mention any names, but somebody else that I know that works for a nonprofit, they actually sublet their space for the remainder of the lease already. So
can't blame them.
Yeah.
Can't blame them because you're just
that
money
means
away.
he's going to be working from home. I think their lease isn't up until middle of next year, so he's going to be working from home at least until
then,
June or July, probably the summer. I'm actually going back to the office right before Thanksgiving, but we had conversations about the fact that we probably won't be there for long with the way the numbers are going right now.
With the way the numbers are going, it's bad.
Yeah, the city is just going to end up shutting shit down all over again.
Len, do you think the studio is going to get closed again?
I mean, the studio being closed the first time was my choice to close it. Nobody is really policing me. Technically, I don't even have a business license, so it is what it is. I just rent the space as my own self. I don't even have an LLC anymore. I let that shit go.
Oh shit!
I was like, nah, not doing anything for me. I'm good. So it's just the studio exists as my own entity right now.
Got it.
I mean, I pay for insurance. I keep that up, and things are okay. As I said, business has been perfectly fine. I'm not like hurting or anything like that. But the actual tax man piece, I don't make enough money for it to even be useful one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But when do you think you're going to run into a problem when it comes to content? Because we've talked about it before. Are you at the tipping point?
I technically have enough content to last me through. I think last time I calculated it. Well, okay, so currently edited and ready to release, I'm good until next week, I think.
Okay.
So I'm reaching the end of what's currently like done and ready to go. But in terms of tapes and things like that people have sent me, I think I have enough for daily content through February or March.
Okay. That's not
bad. But I need to buckle down and actually start converting those tapes and working on it, because I've been just working on other shit. So my plan tonight after this and tomorrow and like the rest of the week is to like start working on some tapes. But I don't know. I want to finish out the year with daily content. But I feel like for 2021, I might back off and not do daily, because I'm like, I don't know. It feels daunting to me to maintain daily content
in this situation.
So part of me is just like, yeah, I'll keep up with it in 2021, but I don't know if I'm going to have the energy to get something out every day, something new every day. Like I'm probably going to rely heavily on throwback posts, because I have so much content now that like every day is the anniversary of something that I filmed a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is.
Right.
So like I have plenty of stuff that I could put out there, but in terms of new unreleased stuff, like even though I technically have enough to last me through every day of February and March, I probably will stretch it out a little bit longer. And I'm kind of bummed about it, because I've been doing like daily new content for the last 2.5 years. And so
right, that's so let me ask you this hindsight question. If you knew what you know today, would you have pulled back to one video a day at the start of COVID?
No. At the start of COVID? I feel like by the start of COVID, was I doing 2?
I thought at some points you were doing 3.
I was doing 3 for a while. I was doing 2 and 3. And I think at the very beginning of COVID, I was like, ooh, maybe I should back off.
Okay.
I think I backed off pretty soon into the pandemic. I backed off. But even still, knowing what I know now, I still would have maintained, even up until that point. Like I feel like what helped the channel grow was doing 2 to 3 for a little bit. But that does get overwhelming for people. Like having 3 videos out a day, that's a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to keep up with.
People barely even watch of 1 video a day that I post. So like, I think the daily stuff has been good for the channel. I was going to 3 because the backlog was growing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was a queue where I was pumping more in at a faster rate that I was like popping stuff out. So that's why I was at 3 for a while, because like all of last year I was filming so much shit.
No, I know you were all over the place.
I was all over the place. I was traveling so much, and even this year I was scheduled to go to like California, Oklahoma, like all over the country to film. And so I was basically wiping out the backlog, preparing for this year, because I was like, all right, coming into spring of 2020, I wanted the backlog to be, at that point, I think at the beginning of the year, I was like 130 videos deep in the backlog, all ready to go. And that's like over 3 months worth of wait for one video a day. So I was like, all right, I got to do 2 or 3 releases a day just to get that down. And I intentionally got it down to like a third, like 30 days out. Because I was like, all right, at 30 days out, I'm going to start, like when it's down to 30, I'll already be out traveling to film all these fests. By the time I come home, I'll be able to like add on another 90 new videos or whatever. So right. I was mapping out like, this is how I want to get the queue down to this. Because at that point, I'm going to add on the rest of this stuff. That's going to carry me out through the rest of the year or whatever it was. And then it all went to shit. So
wow.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have done it differently. Honestly, I think I needed to get the queue down, because it was just like there were some of the like the most recent videos that I released before, because right now I'm just releasing old archival stuff. Right. Some of the last videos that I filmed that got posted were like in the queue for a year and a half. So
you posted a Descent set from like towards the end, but it was literally like almost a year old at that point.
Yeah. So
part of it was me asking you not to post it for a long time, but
there were other sets that were just waiting because they weren't getting any votes. Like all the releases are through voting, but like there were some videos that were just not getting any votes, and like I was building out this whole system to like create like equitable voting and things like that, and like there's no need for it now, because now the wait time on a video is like nothing. So there's actually no incentive for people to vote anymore on the site, because it's whatever I have is gonna be up in the next 2 weeks or whatever.
It's all gonna go.
It's all gonna go pretty soon. So which it's unfortunate, because the whole voting was a big thing.
How much personally shot content do you have left? None? Is it all out now? Other than things that are intentionally held back.
It's other than intentionally, it's all out. Obviously, like the half heart stuff I'm sitting on for a little bit longer. There's probably like 1 or 2 random other sets that I'm still waiting for clearance, but everything that I was cleared to post has been posted. So I'm relying entirely on tapes and whatever live streams we can do.
Is the Ghostface set ever coming out?
I sent it to his management to get reviewed and approved, and they haven't sent it. Did I send you a link yet?
No.
I'll send it to you to watch.
Okay.
I'm afraid to post. Like, here's the thing: I don't want to post something that's going to jeopardize the channel. And Jeff,
cease and desist, or like
Jeff is just like, oh, just post. I'm like, dude, my channel's too big right now. Like, I can't.
Yeah, you don't want to take a chance on that.
And especially now, like Ghostface.
They're the worst now.
And like, and the thing is, like, Ghostface was supposed to do a live stream recently. I think it got postponed, but like, I'm not going to post a 4 angle Ghostface full set right now if he's trying to do a fucking live stream to make money. Like,
you're not trying to cannibalize him.
I'm not trying to cannibalize him. That just seems over. So I'm sitting on it. I'm going to try to push the manager again at some point, but like, I'm just sending it to random people who want to watch it, because it was interesting. It was
a good time, honestly.
It was a good time. I had fun.
That was actually one of my most fun trips that we did together,
dude.
Going up to that TID this season.
It was great.
Every time I had
a great time doing that. I was looking forward to doing it again this year.
I've always wanted to go to that, partly for all the pro wrestling stuff, but
dude, the pro wrestling part just in the middle of the show. Like, they did it, I guess it was like Saturday morning, or was it Sunday morning? I don't remember. It's Saturday morning.
I think the morning of the second day.
Was the first day a Friday night, though?
Yes. Yeah.
It was Saturday morning.
It was Saturday,
But they did like an hour and a half long wrestling thing in the middle of, like, right before the second day kicked off, and you would have loved it. If they do it again in late 2021, you should just ride up if we end up doing
I'm down. I'm down because actually with what we saw like originally early in the year, me and the girlfriend were talking about like, yeah, we should try to go. But obviously it's not going to happen this year.
Like the end of last year, 2019, like two of the things that we did were some of the most fun things that I've ever done working with you. So the 2 108 shows.
Oh yeah. Dude,
and then
November.
Yeah. And then December with Every Time I Die. Like those are two bands that were really important to me growing in the like late 90s, early 2000s, like just from a listening standpoint. And then as well, we had Monty on last week. Race Trader was on that too. It was just a great time for me to be involved in the things that you were doing. And like, it was awesome.
I know. It was great. We're riding a wave. And like, I was in at the end of last year into 2020, I was in Japan, then Australia, then I went to India. I was like, damn, I'm doing all this cool shit, and I'm planning all this other shit in the spring, and then it all went to shit. Such a bummer.
Oh, man.
What did you think of Japan?
Oh, I fucking loved it. That was my second time going.
I was going to ask you if you've been there before.
I went September. No. Yeah, I went September of 20. When was it? I'm drawing a blank now. I think I went
2018, September 2018.
Hold on, let me pull up a video real quick because I went twice in like a year-ish. Hold on.
Let's hit the archives.
Yeah, this is why I keep track of every date of everything I've ever filmed. I mean, there's a purpose to this madness.
The best part of that trip was the dropkick heard around the world.
Oh, the dropkick was epic. Okay, so I misspoke. I went December of 2018 and then September of 2019. So end of last year I was in Australia. Then I went to India in early 2020. Wow. But yeah, Japan was amazing. The bands are all fucking incredible. Like, here's the thing. Like, the Japanese BMX scene is incredible because they start riding at a young age. And not only are they riding at a young age, but they take clinics that are taught by the top Japanese pros. And I feel like that is something that's common across all things in Japan. It's like, if they do something, they commit themselves to it. Oh, and the family is all behind it. Like, I went to BMX events, and the parents were, like, clapping to the kids doing BMX tricks as if it was fucking, like, Little League Baseball. Whereas here, my parents would never come watch me ride fucking BMX.
They're like, oh, you're riding BMX? All right, well, we'll see when you get hurt.
Yeah, see when you get hurt. So in Japan, there's a whole culture of just, like, this is the thing that you're devoted to. We are going to support you, and we're 110% behind you. So the bands, they're all kill it because they devote their lives to just like their fucking instruments. So,
well, that and they love what we do here.
Oh, dude, they are obsessed with New York hardcore.
I've talked about it before. Like when we went in 2009, and the first night they took us to a restaurant, and we didn't know. Like they surprised us with this whole party, and we walk in there. There's like 30, 40 people there. They're all wearing like irate shirts. Everybody gets hurt shirts, stout shirts. And we're just like, holy shit. Look at this shit. Like we couldn't believe it.
It was like being home.
Dude,
that's exactly what it was. And they were asking us about our music and our friends' music. And we're just sitting there like, holy shit, we're on the other side of the world. And they're all up in our shit, into our shit, loving our shit, and we haven't even played. Like we're just there chilling.
It's the coolest feeling. Like you're so far from home, and like they love New York hardcore. They are so obsessed with New York hardcore. And I got interviewed a couple of them, and it's like you think about it. It was like was Roger from AF ever thinking like, oh, one day this music's gonna like reach some kids in Japan? And like they're like, if you think about it, like it reached the entire other side of the world, and these kids growing up on it, they're imitating it. They're creating their own bands of that sound. It's just like an incredible thing that this culture that we have or whatever is global. You know what I mean?
Blew our minds. And like I think it was the first night one of the bands from over there covered an irate song, and we just like we're up in the dressing room and we hear it and we're like, wait, is that? And then we ran down to the stage and we're watching them do an irate song. We're like, holy shit, this is so crazy.
It's so
and I bet
cool.
it was probably the best irate cover you ever damn heard too.
Oh my God, it was just so nuts. Like we're just like this is so wild.
Yeah. So
That's, going back to what you said earlier, Sonny. It's like that whole idea of like getting into like hardcore and punk rock and like it, thinking that like you could do it. It's like I would never think that I'd be able to go to Japan and do that, and then there it is, and it is just like life changing.
Yeah, so the bands are great. The hospitality is amazing. People are so welcoming and so friendly to help you navigate fucking Japan because it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. So I want to go back so bad.
Yeah, because they treated us like we were kings over there, and it was just we were so appreciative of it. Staying in people's houses, but like everything, like being catered to constantly, like every night after party at a restaurant or something, we're drinking, and we're just like, wow, this is so crazy, and they treat you so well over there.
Yeah, it's great. And like
as opposed to the States, like if you go on tour and you're playing like on a Tuesday night, like they won't even give you drink tickets.
Right.
They won't even give you a free Coke.
Yep.
They're like, nope, you gotta pay us.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but it's great over there.
So what about Australia? Was that awesome as well, Sonny?
Australia was great. I kind of wish I'd spent more time there. I think I was there for just under 2 weeks. It was right towards the end of the brush fires, so I was already wearing a mask because the breathing mask. People were like laughing at me, like, "Oh, are you wearing a mask?" I'm like, get home. It's like, all right, I got my N95 already, motherfuckers. They're all sold out, but I got mine. So
that's so funny because in Japan they're always wearing masks no matter
all
what.
the place. Yeah, they wear masks everywhere. So I was getting flack for wearing it in Australia, but it was cool. Like I wish I had spent more time, like just exploring the area, but I had a good time. People there were so excited to meet me. Like the crazy thing for me is people coming up being like, All Else Failed is my favorite band because you keep posting about them. And who would like fucking All Else Failed like never left Delco? I mean, yeah, they left Delco, but like
they were never like a huge touring
they're never a huge band. But like, so when I go to Japan and Australia or wherever, it's like people come up being like, yo, I'm at this show seeing Jesus Piece because I saw your video, and they're now my favorite band, and this is the one time I'm going to get to see them because they never come out here again. So for me, that shit's like incredible because the reason that I do this is to connect people with new bands and hopefully like it motivates them to go see them. So I was getting a lot of feedback like that in Australia, which is great, which is awesome. It's so fucking cool, and people just being like, I've been watching your videos for so long. I've been hoping one day you'd film my band. And like the thing is, I'll film any band. It's just a question of like timing and like stars aligning. So whenever I go somewhere and people are like, I'm so excited you're here to film my band, I'm like, yo, it's a treat for me to be here and you're welcoming me to like do my thing. So I missed that, and like I was really excited to do more of that, and I'm hoping that once the shit ends I can do some more, but we'll see.
I find it irritating as a person who's played in bands and continues to do so on occasion that people don't see the value in what you do and see it as an intrusion. There are a number of bands, we don't need to get into which ones, that don't support what you do, and they're not necessarily directly vocal, but they're vocal about it. And I don't understand. I have a hard time understanding from the standpoint of it being such an underground thing, and the fact that you virtually are taking no money whatsoever to promote someone else's work in good faith, and they see you as doing something against them, and I just have a hard time understanding what the fuck they're thinking.
Yeah, that came up. Sorry, Gary, go ahead.
I was going to say, I got to say, from the perspective of another dude in a band, I don't get that shit at all. That kind of drives me crazy just because, and this is for both of you, because you guys are two sides of the same coin, handling the video and the audio and everything. I appreciate so much what you guys do, not just as a musician, but also as a fan, because a lot of these videos have turned me on to bands that I wouldn't really know otherwise. You know, because when you go and you play shows, because I don't get out as much, you know, having older kids and stuff, you know, sometimes it's like you don't get a chance to watch the other bands on a show because you're busy selling merch or doing whatever. But the videos that you guys have put together, I've been exposed to bands like Year of the Knife, Jesus Piece. You know, these are bands that maybe I wouldn't get a chance to see otherwise, just in the madness of, you know, even if we're playing with them, like I'm too busy with other shit. So I really appreciate the stuff that you guys do, and I think what you guys do is very important. And it just boggles my mind how people don't get it, you know, and don't appreciate it. And I understand some people might have issues with permission, this, that, whatever, but anytime that Sunny has been at a show that I'm playing, it was always mentioned to me beforehand, and there was always that opt-out if for whatever reason you don't want to do it. So it was never anything that was forced on us either. But for me, I think it's awesome what you guys do. And I would jump at the chance, you know? Hey. And I don't understand why, you know, people have an issue with it.
I'll go out and on a limb here and just say that the only reason I'm even involved is because Sunny took a chance and allowed me to try to help him expand. Like, Sunny doesn't need me. And
I disagree. I think I
don't think you need me, and you never necessarily needed me. I was just someone that was persistent and offered a service to try and help him create something that was larger than what was already being created. At the end of the day, it's his vision, and that's the important piece of this. I'm just helping.
I will go as far as to say that I think what you guys do brings more people to shows.
I agree. And I get all this criticism, or we get this criticism saying, like, other videos deter people from going to a show. As much as I love these fucking videos, a video should never and will never replace the experience of going to a goddamn show. And I never want it to. And like,
there will be people that are like that will just rather. But that was always the case.
That was always the
back,
case.
CBGBs used to have a setup, and they were broadcasting their shows live on the web. Place was still packed.
And my whole thing is, those people who would rather wait for the video or whatever, they would never go to the show to begin with. Like, obviously there's people who have physical disabilities or they're far away, they can't make it to a show. That's fine. They rely on the video. But if someone's in the same town or same city as the show, and they're just like, I'll wait for the video in 2 weeks, like, they would never go to the show to begin with. So why is that criticism being thrown at me?
And some people are going to be like that, and that's just the way it is. But I think, and you know, for those of us that are really into this type of music, you know, and you know, you probably know it from your first show. Like, that energy from the live show is what brings you back.
100%.
Because I know the first time I went to a hardcore show, I was like, you know, I went to like arena shows, and I went from arena shows to going to like L'Amour's, seeing the Cro-Mags at L'Amour's, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it just blew my mind, and I was hooked. And going to shows over the years, going to small places, yeah, I still would go to the arena shows, and it was a different experience, and it was cool in its own way, but like, nothing to me beats, as a fan or as a musician, playing in that little tiny fucking room,
and getting to beat an ass while your best friend's bands are playing.
Yeah, and watching somebody get smacked up like 2 feet in front of you. I mean, that was the hook. So to me, I would imagine that a lot of younger people see some of these videos that you guys do and are like, fuck, I want to go see that band. I want to go to that fest. Like, to me, you guys, I firmly believe that you guys are bringing asses into the room.
Right. And not just that, and those asses are buying merch from those bands that I'm filming.
Yeah. If you take it even further, yeah, I would definitely agree with that argument without a doubt.
And so I think that there's a misconception from people about how YouTube works. They see that I have 115,000 subscribers, that I have millions of hits. Like, I don't know what I get a lot of hits per month. It might even be like at least 1 million per month now. But like on a good month, I'll make like $500, $600. Like, I spend more in like servers and hard drive space and paying the fucking electricity bill to power all the computers in my goddamn apartment.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's not like you're taking that money and buying a fucking Lambo. You're pouring it back in with the servers and everything else, even the equipment that you're sitting there and putting together yourself.
Right. And
like,
so
it's not like you're sitting back and like, yo, I'm rich, bitch.
Right. And the thing is, it's like, what is something that I'm doing worth that like hundreds of thousands of people are using as a resource? What is that worth? Is it worth, like, how do you quantify that? And so I think that,
Sonny, you could give me $1 million and I still couldn't do anything that you're doing. You know what I mean? Or Len, like, you could give me $1 million and I could buy a ton of equipment and I'll just look at it like,
red button goes on.
you can't put a price to this thing. Like, that's this whole thing.
No.
So
and then the actual work, you know,
and right, the time and energy, like, and here's the thing, like, every 6 to 8 months I get hit up by a Google or Facebook recruiter being like, hey, do you want to interview? And I'm like, no, I'm good for now. I'm still doing my thing. But I don't think people realize that, and I'm not saying this to like pat myself on the back, but like, I could literally just walk away from this if I wanted to. Like, I don't have to do this. Like,
well, and that goes for a lot of us that are into this type of music. It goes for both of you guys. It goes for me as a musician. You know, I'm not playing in a band to get paid, because then I'd be out. Because let me tell you, I certainly have not broken even in almost 30 years of playing in bands. Like, not even close. But this is why we do what we do, because we love it.
Yeah.
You know, we got hooked, whether it was, you know, that first Rage Against the Machine show or seeing the Cro-Mags, or even, you know, my first concert was a Van Halen concert. Like, you know,
just hooked.
We got hooked from early on music, and then we got into this type of music. And to me, you're doing it for the love. Like, okay, maybe Sonny might get to the point where he's got his expenses covered, but it's not like Sonny's balling in a fucking mansion off of somebody else's shit. Like, that's not how any of this works. And it's for the love, because we love this type of music, and we're doing, you know, and Len, the same thing. Like, yeah, Len's got a recording studio, but it's not like Len's rocking in a mansion and like
got a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house.
Right.
That's filled to the gills with just nonsense, but
it's not like you got
golden
faucets at Landmine.
Yeah.
No. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's a perception that I'm stealing from bands, even though, like, if you're in a band, you can like claim the music on YouTube and get the $5.20 that I'm making every 4 years, whatever it is.
That's why I mentioned before that when I found out that you were going to be recording the times that you've been there recording Billy Club, that's why I mentioned that it was always mentioned beforehand, and there was always an opt-out, because I would think, and I know, at least for This Is Hardcore, that was made very clear, and it was pretty much in the contract. So any band that plays, it's like they're aware of it, you know. But no matter what, it's like, okay, you got the opt out, and some people listen for whatever reasons they've got. That's fine, you know. If you don't agree, that's fine.
I think. What about the idea of just free promotion in general.
I know.
Why wouldn't you want free promotion, especially from someone with such a reach already? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll give you one counter to that, which is a name that I will not mention, who used to bootleg stuff once upon a time.
Jesus Christ!
I've been called him. I've been called a modern day him.
Oh, of course you have. But that is one thing that's left a sour taste in people's mouths since the mid '90s. But the difference between that and this is the permission thing, because that stuff all went on without permission. And that stuff ended up hurting a lot of people because, like, oh, hey, I got your demo, but it cuts off halfway through. Oh, I got your T-shirt, but I pulled a thread and the whole sleeve fell off. It was a red shirt. Wait, we never made red shirts. That's the kind of shit that used to go on. And I could see that, but that's why the permission thing is important, because it's always been very clear.
Yes. If someone doesn't want me to film, just tell me. Like, at the season, we had a couple bands being like, "Hey, can you not film us? Like, we have a fill-in drummer." Yeah, cool. I won't film you. Like, I get it. You don't want this film because it's a fill-in drummer. You're gonna be rough tonight. I'm gonna actually go take a shit for once during this fest.
Yeah, well, I can't see you fighting them. Like, oh no, I gotta film. Like, no, I'm gonna go get a fucking sandwich.
Like early on, a couple years ago, I would fight it, but now I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to. I don't need to fight it anymore.
But that's the whole thing for me. Like, hey, you want to film my band pro, and you want to give us the full audio setup? Like, that's terrible.
And you can use it audio to like put on like whatever you like. We make it available. Like, I don't understand.
Right.
What's interesting to me is like I've always had a PayPal donation button on my site, and the thing is, like, I'm doing this full time through Patreon, and it's because enough of my viewers are voluntarily donating $2, $5, whatever it is per month to allow me to do this. It's all opt-in. There's no paywall. Obviously, I have some bonus content like an interview or a drum can, like that stays paywalled on Patreon for a couple months, and then it goes free. But literally all 4,000 videos I produce are fucking free. So people who are supporting me are doing it voluntarily. And what's interesting is I've always had a PayPal donation button on the site, but this only became an issue when I took the plunge on and made it public, like, I'm doing this thing on Patreon, and it became an issue when it actually worked. No one gave me shit when I had a PayPal link on my site for 13 years, but it was only and I think what it comes down to is people don't like seeing other people succeed. I think that's what it comes down to partially. And I think the other big part of it, a lot of people don't want to admit to it, is the fact that I use my platform to talk about politics, and I'm also a very vocal brown person that some people, they might not admit to it, but they probably don't like that in the scene. So it's a combination of all those things that I think that people are just like, nah, fuck that dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the politics side of things, if Len and I were making any money with this podcast, we'd run into the same problem too.
Yeah.
Because we talk a lot of shit about politics, and it's a lot of shit that people don't want to hear. So if we were making money, people would complain about it.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, I can understand if you want to opt out, that's one thing. But like, to me, yeah, it's a way. And like I said, as a fan, there have been videos that I've watched, Hate5Six videos, that have turned me on to other bands. And it's awesome. And like you said, it's free content. It's not like everything's behind the paywall. It's not like they're giving up any rights to anything.
Like, imagine if I did that. Imagine if I made the whole site like a paywall tomorrow.
But that's what I mean. I've seen so many other things where, a band signs a deal, and then like suddenly everything, suddenly somebody's got their digital rights to all their songs or some other bullshit. Like, it's not like you're really taking anything.
Yeah.
And the permission thing is the one big difference between you and that other guy whose name I won't mention. But that's, that was always a big problem. But to me, as long as it's all with permission, I don't see why there's an issue. Like, hey, somebody with top-notch equipment wants to film my band. Oh no.
See,
what are we going to do?
If I was, let's just take this all the way to the top. If I was in Metallica right now and somebody was like, yo, Sunny wants to film you, I'd be like, yeah, bring his ass the fuck in here and let's do this, because what is one performance? And worst case is you play bad and you say, hey, Sunny, I know you recorded this. Can you just chop out like 2 of these songs that we really fucked up?
Right.
And you roll with it, because you're going to gain more fans the more you're out there. It's just the way it works.
That's how it works. It really is.
So, like, any exposure you can get, you take. Even bad press is good press, because it's got your name in their mouths.
Right.
Yep.
So the idea that, I mean, there are bootleg videos floating around that people salivate over, and they're nowhere near the value that is produced by Sunny on a regular basis. Like, it's crazy to me that people would just sit back and not see the value of free promotion.
Yeah. I know.
Like I said, I just don't get it. But also, eventually, and this is another thing, and I always support this with anybody that takes pictures at shows, anybody that does like a fanzine, like I got today, I posted on Instagram, I ordered a couple of copies of a fanzine, an actual paper fanzine that Anshit from MH Chaos in Chicago did, and he did an interview with Malone for Billy Club. And I was like, you know what? Let me get some paper copies of this. And it's like, you're documenting something.
Yeah.
Like, how many times do we wish we had a picture, like pictures from a show we were at 20 years ago?
Right. And that's, I feel like,
and stuff like that. It's like, you guys that document what we do, because like I said, at this point, I'm playing in bands 30 years. Next year will be 20 years that I'm playing in Billy Club. And how many people even have a band for 5 years, yet let alone 20? But they were around before me, so that'll be 25 years for Billy Club.
Mm-hmm.
And here are people who want to document it, and years later, that document's still going to be there, and it's because of the work that guys like you guys are doing.
That's the important part of the work, is the fact that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, if you want to show your kid, or, in some people's cases, their grandkids, like, hey, this is what I used to do.
Hey,
and
listen,
here it is.
We're at the point now where a lot of people that we know, their kids are in bands. Phil Vibe's son is playing guitar in a new band with Phil.
So Stickman was at the studio.
Same thing.
Right. That's where I was going with. Yeah. I was at the studio over the weekend, and Stickman came in to do a guest vocal on the new Departed record, and we got to talking about Caden from what's his name? It's son that you just mentioned. Beto's son. Yeah. And the fact that everybody in that band is a kid of somebody that was in a hardcore band.
Oh, like, really?
Literally every single kid. Yeah. The whole band is all people that either were going to shows and their parents turned them on to it, or they were actually in a band, and like now their kids are all working together to make that next generation. It's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you've got that documentation of that point in time. And I always appreciate, like I said, what you guys do, what the photographers do at the shows.
It's all important. It's what the bookers do at the shows. Just booking the shows in general.
It's important. Yeah.
It's one of the hardest jobs.
But those guys, you guys that put in the work to document what we're doing, like, I always appreciate that, because, 10 years from now, like you said, you want to show your kids something. Like, because my kids are like, wait, you're on YouTube? When they were younger. And like suddenly there they are. Like, I walk in and they're watching one of my band's videos on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, don't hit people like that guy.
Yeah.
Well, I just think about it from the idea that, like, if I were to ever pass away too soon, my son could actually go and watch it play online. Yeah. Like there's video of me out there, and my voice will always be available to him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and not be a morbid, morose motherfucker, but
it's true.
You never know.
I get messages from people saying like, "Oh, my friend is up front in that video. He passed away like a year after that set. I still watch that video to remind me of him." Or like all the Power Trip videos, like we just lost Riley. Like, and the older we get, the more this is going to happen.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We've lost so many people,
and it's only going to become more. I mean, that's just the nature of life. And I feel like everyone who talks shit down the road is going to be like, "Damn, like, yeah, these videos are actually kind of fucking cool." Like,
yeah. It's cool to have that, because to me, like, I'm, I've always been on record on here, like, I'm a diehard atheist, but to me, like, music is the closest thing to religion for me, because it's like it's a part of you as a musician. You're leaving a part of yourself out there, and here we are going to the other side of the world, and people are relating to us through our music, which is fucking insane.
And it'll live on forever.
And it'll live on. How many people do we know that are gone now that we're still listening to their music?
So many.
Whether it's people that we were friends with, like Vinnie Value or Sob from Marauder, or people that were gone before we were even here, Jimi Hendrix, and you can keep going on. But it's just that documentation is such an important part of this culture to me.
Yeah, and you can't expect someone outside of that culture to document it. So it's like you got to do it yourself. Someone within is going to have. The only way to do it right is if someone from within is doing it. Right. So it's like, all right, we're going to talk shit. Like, who else is going to do it?
But that's why I always appreciate what you guys do, because
I would have never thought to do it. I'm telling you right now, I would have never thought to do it if Sunny hadn't started doing it. So, like, you guys were at the Starlight Ballroom. My Turn to Win played 2 or 3 years in a row. And, like, we would play and you would film. And I'm, like, watching the film, and I'm like, this would be so cool if I could just go ahead and record it. And I needled you for, like, 3 years in a row.
I know. I was against it for a long time.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
What were you going to do? Sonny. You were going to bring the mini disc player?
No, I was going to bring... Dude, so on an earlier episode, we discussed this. Back, my old band, Breath of Silence, played with Billy Club Sandwich at Castle Heights. And
what did we say? That was 2002? I'm going to look it up right now.
And
I still have those files.
Yeah,
on
I brought a mini disc player and a wire to break out from stereo into the mini disc player, and I recorded the whole show. But I know that I was specifically there to record the Billy Club set, and I sent it to Gary, and
I still have it.
That's the first time I did like a live recording.
Damn.
Okay. That was the first time you did a live recording?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, first live recording of all time.
That's crazy. I didn't know.
I had only started recording a year before that. I didn't start recording until mid-2001.
Oh, wow. I just remember you saying, hey, I can plug my mini disc player into the...
That's how you get started, is just trying.
Exactly.
I was just trying.
Yep.
Anyway, so Sunny, how many years did you do at Starlight? 3?
I did 2009, 10, 11.
Yeah. So we played 9 and 11, or 10 and 11, or something like that. And
I don't remember you playing 10 because I was there.
Okay, so then it was 9 and 11, and I would stand back by the soundboard and I'd watch, and I'm like, I could just easily hook my computer into this and fucking record this. Like, I could do this. Even if it was rudimentary, which the first couple years, the first year was the most rudimentary of them all. But I was just like, I could do this. I could and I would just come up to Sunny and be like, Sunny, let me just record the audio and I'll send it to you and you can blend it in with your video. And you're like, no.
I was so against it.
You were super against it. And then finally, the first year that it was at the Electric Factory, which was 2012, He was like, all right, fine. So I show up with, 16 channels going into Pro Tools, and it had all kinds of issues that I hadn't really expected, because the vibrations in the room can cause a laptop to go wild because I didn't have a solid state hard drive. Anyway, we got through the set, and I got him all the stuff, and you can go watch it on YouTube or wherever. It's all out there. But that's where our relationship was forged, by me needling him for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 3 years of needling.
True.
But my thing is, as with anything I do, if I'm nothing else, I'm persistent.
Yeah, the persistence is always key.
So people ask me all the time, how did you get to this point with owning a recording studio? Because if you've been in the studio, you know I have a ton of equipment. And my answer is persistence. Any money I make, I put back in the studio. The studio money does not run my life. I have a regular job, 9 to 5. I work every day. And then I work at night and all weekend, almost all year. And that money stays there. So, anytime I'm out with Sunny and I'm working on something for him, there's a good chance that the next time I see him and I'm working on something, I've purchased something to help him do his thing better with the money he's invested in hiring me. All the time it's getting better. And It is only a testament to just staying focused on the task of making it better all the time.
See, but that's what I'm talking about. That's what I appreciate as a musician. You're putting that work in, and that we benefit from that work.
Yeah.
All that gear that you guys are buying, or that Sonny's putting together with like gum and spit. That's what I appreciate. It's like you guys are putting all that time and effort into it in the end to make us look sort of presentable. So
I mean, I keep Sweetwater in business, and I'm pretty sure you keep B&H in business.
Dude, I was against B&H for a long time, and then this year I've been just giving them so much money. I literally spent $5,000 today.
Oh man.
Oh god, it's hard to think about. But listen, and again, it's just all going back into this thing. Like I bought a 4th camera, so I'm gonna our live streams are potentially gonna have 4 angles now. Like there's a purpose to this stuff that I'm buying.
Right.
I'm taking the money.
The monitors in my studio are $5,000 for the pair of monitors because I want to fucking hear the things that I need to hear.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to have high quality equipment that allows you to do so. Sure, I could buy $200 pair of speakers, but you're going to have $200 pair of speakers imaging. I've spent a bunch of money on my interface, and I spent a bunch of money on my speakers because it makes a difference in the end product. Right. It's just like, I scour, and this is the way that I handle my amplification budget. I scour Craigslist, I scour Facebook Marketplace, and eBay and Reverb for deals. Reverb and eBay really don't have deals on them because, the other 2 locations are where crackheads go to sell their equipment. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I picked up a Friedman amp recently. It was a $3,700 amp. I paid $1,200 for it because somebody had to get rid of it. And then I made friends with the lady selling it, and she's been emailing me all the other amps that she's got laying around the house because her husband passed away, and she's trying to get them out of the house. So there are ways to end up with high-quality, high-end equipment that isn't breaking your budget, but you have to be in a position to be prepared to take advantage.
So what you're saying is that the crackhead is you, like fiending for new amps and shit.
Oh, for sure. For sure, 100% for sure.
You got any more of them amps?
Just one more. I just need one more.
I only need just one more. That's it. I'll stop after this one.
Because, I mean, honestly, there are, 28 heads, 29 heads in my studio. And who needs that? You can play You can play 2 at a time, maybe 3. I don't know, but like, it's about having the options, and you buying more cameras. It's about having the options for either more angles, better vision, etc. And if you don't invest in your materials, you will never expand.
Exactly.
You can't grow without spending a little bit of money.
Yeah, and I was using the same cameras from This Is Hardcore 2011 up until even this most recent This Is Hardcore. I used the same exact camera, and then like I was renting for a while the alternate angles, and finally I was like, I'm just gonna buy the extra cameras. And so that's when I was like, I'm gonna start really taking more money, like putting more money into this, and then. This year, I started buying all these like Z cams, which is what I used to do the live streams. And like, again, I wouldn't be able to do any of these live streams if I wasn't buying these like stream ready cameras. So again, it's like you said, I needed to, and I didn't realize it until recently. Like, yeah, in order for me to like do more and like level up, I need to like really like go hard with like investing in what I'm trying to build. So right. It's an important lesson for sure.
I mean, honestly, between the two of us for a guerrilla live setup, there's nobody out there doing the things that you're able to do alone. And then when you do involve me, there's nobody doing what we do.
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like like I was saying before, like, oh no, somebody wants to do, like a full
even
pro
if it's
looking
paid,
camera
Gary,
setup.
Even if it's paid, like argumentatively, we're underpaid.
Yeah, I don't know the details of you guys' numbers, but I can guarantee that you guys.
I'm not looking to talk details. Yeah, I'm just saying that
I can guarantee you guys are underpaid, but that's why I said we're all underpaid when it comes to this type of shit. But that's why I said we do it because we love it.
So speaking about loving things,
our day jobs were underpaid too. So
yeah, exactly.
So Sunny, speaking of things that you love, as a show goer, do you even attend shows just as like for fun at this point? And if you do, what was like the last best show you went to see that you didn't have any involvement with recording? Because like, what do you do?
Goo Goo Dolls at Electric Factory last year or 2 years ago.
Really?
That shit was awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
No, sorry, it wasn't. It was Bush. It was Bush. Bush at Electric Factory.
Who opened?
I had so much fun. Who opened that?
Did you slip in the back door? Did John hook you up?
No. One of them let me in. It might have been the video guy.
Okay.
Brian. I think Brian let me in for Bush. I saw Run the Jewels a couple times. That was awesome. It's rare. It's honestly rare because I love the camera. And if I'm not filming at a show, I'm thinking like, here's how I would film it. I would have a camera here. Len driving. Like, that's what I'm thinking every time I'm at one of these shows. But I don't know. I think I can honestly count on one or two hands the number of shows I've been to
where you haven't had a camera jammed in your hand.
Yeah. But
do you miss it? Because like, I know that I miss listening to music without thinking about it like an engineer.
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, like there are moments when All Else Fails playing or like Pulling Teeth or whatever, where like I'm like, I got to be in the fucking pit for this, or I literally hand my camera off to someone and go off for a couple songs. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like I get a certain high out of filming. Like I feel like I get a unique rush to it because I'm in a unique position to like capture the show in a certain way that I have fun doing it. It's not that I'm not just like standing there and like pointing the camera. Like for me, filming is an engaging way for me to like have fun at a show. So I don't see the camera as a barrier between me like enjoying. Obviously there's exceptions, like me wanting to like be in the fucking pit to punch myself or like grab someone and be like, yo, punch me in the face because this is my favorite song. Like, there are moments where I'm so overwhelmed with like the energy of the show that I want to like put the camera down and go in there. But the vast majority of the time, it's like the camera is my way of being engaged and like having fun. Because like when I'm filming and I hit a certain shot or like it, like I feel it and nothing compares to it. So I honestly never feel like, damn, I wish I didn't have the camera on me tonight. Like, that's never something that's ever crossed my mind. Okay.
Because I know, as I mentioned, that sometimes just riding in the car, like listening to, we'll call it Third Eye Blind, and there's this like weird fucking noise in the fucking recording, and it won't go away, and now I can't enjoy the fucking song because all I hear is this goddamn noise, and I'm like, I would have engineered that noise the fuck out of there. So it's like, for me, it's hard to break the barrier that I've created in my head when it comes to music. And I was just wondering if you had that kind of barrier.
Oh yeah, I guess to that point, yeah. If I go to a show, like I said, if I was at Run the Jewels and I was like, damn, I was thinking like, damn, I would film it this way. So if I am at a show and I'm not filming, which is very rare, my mind is thinking about, damn, I could be up there like getting that angle right now, and like
right.
I'd be.
So it's hard to pull yourself out.
It's hard to pull out of it. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, in many ways, yeah. Very difficult.
It's just biggest conundrum of life.
Always.
Oh
man. So
that's those happy errors you're talking about, Len.
So to wind this down, I know that you have the mask from Star Wars, and it's around somewhere.
Wait, which mask are we talking about?
Hey, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Okay, I will. Hold on, he's gonna go get the mask.
Let me go get it.
But where I'm going with this is, I just want to know what he does in his spare time. So
that's actually, I was about to ask that same question because I think that's one of those things that I love. Oh, that mask.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's sort of.
Great.
It's a trap. Oh, man. So, take that back off. But what I want to know, now that we've seen the mask,
it's signed by Tim Rose, the puppeteer of.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. So, what Gary and I want to know, what does Sunny do in his actual spare time that is not editing video, shooting video, or riding your bike?
Related at all.
Not non-music related. Like, what does Sunny do to get away?
Fuck.
Do you watch movies?
So I just bought a TV. I bought my first TV. I've never owned a TV. I just bought one. And the last couple of days, I've been watching movies. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm not going to stay up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. editing because I don't have to. And I'm forcing myself, not forcing, but like I'm training myself to be like, all right, I could just like sit on my couch and watch a fucking movie. So I've been doing that. I've been taking a lot of baths. I have a nice bathtub that I rarely use, but lately I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take a nice bath tonight.
In the 10 times I've been in your house, I've never once even sprinkled in your toilet. I had no idea whether you had a tub or nothing. Usually I'm just popping in, popping out, and I don't spend enough time in there to have to pee.
I don't even think he has a bathroom.
Yeah, because I never take a piss at fucking shows anyway. So I don't know. A lot of what I do, I think that I'm a very solitary person. Like, I have friends, don't get me wrong, but like I spend a lot of time by myself. So it ends up being I'm working on something. If I'm not editing, I'm like building something or watching a fucking YouTube at 2x speed to teach myself the next thing I need to learn for the next project. That I think like before, when I was working in tech, there was a much clearer separation between like, this is work, this is my hobby, work 9 to 5, I come home and I film, whatever. And then I was starting to spend my work time 9 to 5 like updating Hate5Six like when my boss wasn't like looking. So over the years, everything has just become like this one massive congealed thing where like it's very difficult for me to separate what's work from what's not work. Because like technically me going to a show is work. Even though I'm going to go hang out with friends and like film bands I like, whatever, that's technically work. Like that's what it is that I do for a living, like document shows.
Right.
And so patrons pay you to go hang out with your friends and film bands
and like and post that footage online. So it's especially when shows were at its peak, I was grinding like nonstop, and I still do it. Still do it. So I'm trying to really find things. I haven't been on my bike in a while. I obviously said things that don't on my bike, but like for a while my bike was my escape. Like I don't have to worry about video stuff, but like I don't know. I'm always trying to find something that takes me out of it, but it's so hard. It's so hard to do.
No comic books.
No comic books.
No toys.
No Legos.
No Legos. I'm trying to read more. I have a whole bookshelf, but I don't read. It's the older I get, the harder it is to actually sit down and open a fucking book. I read stuff on the internet, but like,
I know.
But yeah, no comic books. I'm not a video game person, which is weird.
That was my next go-to.
I feel like I should be. Now that I have a TV, maybe I'll buy. I don't know. I had Sega Master System growing up. That's about it.
I had Sega Master, I had Sega Genesis, and I had Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo, and then that's where it stopped. I didn't have anything.
Yeah, I pretty much have a video game museum. I've still got Sega Master System, Super Nintendo, Genesis. Like I still have all those systems packed away somewhere.
Yeah.
So, what movies have you been watching?
So I watched Solo. I saw Solo in the theaters, but I watched it last night.
Nice.
I also watched Home Alone last night because that's just
that's a solid movie.
Well, let me ask you this: what'd you think of Solo?
It was fine. I enjoyed it. Like,
a lot of people didn't like it. That's why I asked.
There was nothing. There's nothing about it that I was like, oh, fuck this shit.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hate comes from the fact that The Last Jedi came right before it. So.
Did you like The Last Jedi?
No, there were definitely
That's
moments.
a no.
There was definitely moments like, what the fuck are you guys doing with this?
Yes. Yeah.
Like I was excited to see it, and I'm like, this is what you do? This is what you like? Really?
It was one of the worst movies I have ever seen. And listen,
God.
I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I went with Glenn from Billy Club, and when it was done, we just looked at each other and we were like, "What the fuck was that?"
It was a dream sequence. They're going to rewrite that movie.
I will take this moment right now to say to you again, Len, watch The Mandalorian.
Oh, that I watched. That's the other thing. I watched the movies.
We can't talk about The Mandalorian because somebody's holding out.
Yeah, I need to. Okay.
Dying to talk about The Mandalorian.
So, let's just be clear. Much like Sunny, my whole life revolves around running a one-man operation that is known as Landmine Studios. So, if I'm not editing or mixing or tracking, this shit ain't getting done because I'm the only one doing it. And I've attempted to hire interns. Doesn't work out because nobody wants to actually put in the level of effort that I need for what I do. I can't trust anybody to do what I want to do with my projects unless I fucking do it. So I understand 100%, Sonny, when you say, I can't hire somebody to edit this, or I can't hire somebody to just plain shoot this for me. Go to these 5 shows and shoot the footage and give it to me, because they're not going to have your vision. It's just not going to happen. Yep. So the same thing goes. So I'm up till 2 or 3 in the night, almost every night of the week, editing or loose mixing, so that the next day that I get up and I can go to the studio, I can actually hit it hard and come out with the product that I envisioned from the start. So I totally get it. But I own 5 TVs, and there's one to my left right here that I haven't turned on in 6 weeks because I've been too fucking busy then to turn and just put my attention on this fucking monstrosity that's like 50 inches of a television to my left. It's literally just sitting there. The TV in my living room, I might watch an hour and a half a week on it, and that's just like random times when I need to be upstairs where I can't be downstairs, and that's it. I don't have time to watch TV anymore, so I haven't even had time to watch The Mandalorian. The last thing that I watched was Better Call Saul, and that was because you can watch that show without watching the show. There isn't a requirement to only focus on the screen because it's dialogue. It's a dialogue show. You can watch it in the background. It's just background noise, and you're paying attention to it, but it's not. But I feel like Mandalorian, I need to be watching that.
You do.
Yeah.
You do, because that is the one time, like, I'm always doing other shit or checking my phone or whatever. Like, when I'm watching The Mandalorian, I'm 100% focused on The Mandalorian. And that's because it's that goddamn good. So when you get some time,
I will.
And you're able to treat yourself to it, you will be pleased.
So, Sonny, my last suggestion to you for the night, if you have access to HBO or HBO Go or whatever, or you feel like doing a download via some torrent off of whatever site that you torrent, watch Lovecraft Country.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that to me. Yeah.
Goddamn, yes.
Fuck. Yep.
Yes.
That is the only thing that I've taken my time, like literally just turn the computer off, went upstairs, put my phone down, face down, 100% into the show for an hour a week. I gave it 10 hours over the course of the time that the show was on, and it was not wasted.
So damn good.
Okay. I like that.
Absolutely worth it.
Sonny, I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, it worked out, like I said, perfectly. I was already set up, and if you ever want to come back on, like let's fucking do it. But I'm glad we got to do it.
I'm disappointed that we never even got to really talking about any current politics, but we'll do it the next time. Maybe we'll do a show with you and Monty at the same time.
Oh, damn.
And talk about the bullshit that is going to be let's call it the week after inauguration.
We're in for some shit.
As opposed to the bullshit weeks before inauguration?
Yeah.
It's going to be a fucking roller coaster for the next 2 months.
Every day is a roller coaster. Listen, let's say in 2 weeks we have these guys on. Think of how much ridiculous bullshit is going to happen between.
It's going to be like It's going to be like 3 years worth of politics in the
every day is some fucking insanity.
Well, Monty was on last Tuesday, and the ridiculousness from Tuesday to Tuesday has been just insane. So I can only imagine how much will be in the next 2 months.
I know.
I don't even know at this point.
It's crazy out there. Sonny, take care of yourself. I'll see you on Friday?
Thursday.
The 19th. Friday is my dad's birthday. I'm getting it all mixed up.
All the days all blend together anyway.
Yeah, I'll hit you up about scheduling and stuff, but Thursday.
I think I'm taking the day off Thursday, so I'll be free, and I don't have anything scheduled that day.
Cool.
So
I might come in early just to set up and do my test again.
Yeah, anytime you want, man. You just let me know what time.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sonny. Really appreciate it. Upgradepodcast.net, and of course, Hate5Six. Hate, the number 5, and 6 spelled out .com to find everything that Sonny's been doing. Or
if you want to go to the Patreon directly, just patreon.com/Hate5Six. / whatever.
I mean, a slash is a slash.
Slash is a slash.
Unless you're talking about Slash from Guns N' Roses. That's
Slash.
a totally different Slash.
You Slash. But yes, Hate5Six on whatever random social media you use also.
All socials.
Yeah, just go join the Instagram and that'll fuck your whole day up every day.
Instagram, YouTube. Listen, you really want to fuck up your day? Go to YouTube. You'll get stuck in a hole watching shit for days and days and days. I know, because I done it.
It's just on random.
UpgradePodcast.net, Hate5Six.com, GeoCities.com, something. Hate5Six on Friendster.
Oh
yes,
my
on
God.
Friendster.
Friendster, yeah.
Were you ever on Friendster, Sonny?
No, I just missed it by like
Oh,
a hair.
man.
Yeah,
Oh, what a shame.
just missed it.
What a shame. We missed all the fun.
That was like OkCupid before OkCupid.
I was gonna say it was like
man.
Fuckster.
Yeah, it was like fish in a barrel, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, almost as bad as the AOL chat rooms.
Oh shit.
Woo-hoo. Oh, the old days. This is what us old folks reminisce about.
We'll be back in the old folks' home soon.
Yeah, but hey, remember the time in the AOL chat room?
Peace,
Thanks,
y'all.
again, Sonny.
All right. Have a good night,
Upgrade
guys.
Podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
See ya.